Hey everyone, and welcome to Quarantine in the Multiverse. The final episode of Quarantine in the Multiverse, is it? No, next week's the final one.
We've got one more.
We got one more. Just keep a track in my head. Yes, so this is the show that is just temporarily replaced Comics from the Multiverse, or DC Comics podcast, because there's no DC Comics. We've got questions, we got at least one quiz today, and we're going to talk about other pop culture stuff and DC news and so on and whatever else. Here to hang out, basically, in this great time of need. But I am Peter. Joining me, as always, is Matt.
Hey, what's up, people?
And Connor's here too.
Yes, I am.
Is that booze?
There may be some rum in this pineapple juice.
Joe, he really distracted me the other night, Matt, because we were recording one of the TV reviews, and 30 seconds into it, he lifts up like a cocktail glass and just sips it very casually, slowly, and I'm like, what are you drinking? What? This is not happy hour.
It was a cocktail.
Are you his sponsor, Pete?
Oh God, no. If anything, I'm encouraging the liver
it was at
disease.
Midnight that we were recording, and I had a cocktail. What's wrong with
that? Last week, Ash bought some Campari, which is, for those that don't know, it's a Italian aperitif. Uses it as a mixer, but it's very bitter.
Bitter, yeah.
Yeah, and so I made her drink called a Time Turner, and it's basically rum, pineapple, Campari. You can find the recipe online. Lime. It's basically a tea drink.
I like the sound of this. I need to pick up a bottle.
And with the ties to Harry Potter. Yeah, but outside of that one drink, now it just is sitting there because there's nothing else you can really do with Campari because it is so bitter. And I'm not a drinker. Yeah, so, but it was a $30 bottle of something she's going to drink.
Expensive.
Yeah.
It's not that much here, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, well, I mean, all of our liquor stores are closed. You have to go through the grocery, and alcohol tends to be more expensive there. But yeah, so if Connor's just drinking rum and pineapple juice, I think that's. What did you have the other night?
The other night, what was I drinking with Pete? I don't know. I had a kamikaze.
He drinks too much to remember what he's been drinking night to night, man.
To be fair, this was like a week ago now.
And this says nothing of Connor's talent level. I was gonna say he is our Mitch Gerrits, who's constantly, according to his Twitter, has an old fashioned every night, and was very upset when Tim Seeley intimated that in Wisconsin they put soda in their old fashions.
That's just wrong.
Yeah, so I've
not been drinking tons. Like I was drunk the other night. I'd had a few because it was a nice day, so I drank in the evening. And today it's Saturday. I was outside, sitting in the sun.
Need I remind you that just before this show started, we had a conversation based on something someone told you when I was live show. I was playing Final Fantasy via stream just 2 nights ago, and Connor was in the chat talking to the other people who were there, and David actually told him what Tyler's pick for his Patreon book was this month because he'd been waiting to find out. And Connor's excuse was that he was blind drunk and been drinking for 10 hours. That was a conversation we had just before we started.
I remember, once you've told me this, I remember this conversation happening. And I remember saying, look, I'm drunk, Pete, you'll have to tell me tomorrow. And then I forgot all about it.
Oh my god!
Oh shoot! This is great. I love talking about Connor's drinking problem.
I didn't drink anything yesterday, so it's fine.
I love how we started off with the booze section of the podcast.
You make it sound so bad. This isn't like that bad. I don't drink that much. It's just because you two drink nothing at all that I look so bad.
I drink plenty of coffee, thank you.
Anyway, so yes, we got a ramshackle of a show as per usual.
That's us.
Countdown to the regular show coming back. Like I say, we got one more quarantine next week, and I will actually remember to ask for questions and quizzes at a reasonable time of the week next week because I forgot to do it this week and asked it like 10 hours before the show started recording. Luckily though, we didn't use any of your questions last week, so we're actually fine. We have tons of questions to work our way through. But I will start off with DC Comics news. A couple of things here, both kind of tangentially related. One is that they're adding more digital firsts. They're not actually original, though. They're pulling them from the Giants that were coming out already. So now they're going to be... Because they were shorter stories, because even though they were from Giants, which were like 100 pages, the actual new material was maybe, I don't know, 12, 15 pages, whatever it is. So they're going to be out as digital first. So we got Superman Man of Tomorrow from Art Venditti, Batman Gotham Knights by Michael Gray, and Wonder Woman Agents of Peace from Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor, Aquaman Deep Dives by Michael Gray, Flash vs. Man Alive by Gail Simone, DC Supergirls Infinite Frenemies. I hate it.
Well, the superhero girl stuff is delightful.
I'm sure it is. I just hate the word frenemies, but frenemies been in the title.
You know,
He's
not
really
just
struggling
like
to
Birds
say
of
that.
Prey.
Yeah.
Frenemies. It's not like it's Birds of Prey frenemies. It's superhero girls. It's
Sure.
on brand for them.
Hey, to be fair, the pilot of that Cartoon Network show, whatever it was I watched last year, was actually delightful, so I'm not going to diss it too much. And then Swamp Thing New Roots by Mark Russell being the last one of the bunch.
Which I tried when this news got announced earlier in the week. I tried to find, because a friend of ours said that, Mark Russell already had a story published in a Swamp Thing. Turns out there's been 2 Swamp Thing Giant series, and one was written by Tim Seeley. So the one that was out was that one. So I'll be checking out this Mark Russell one. It's not out yet.
That's the only one as of right now when we record that hasn't had its first issue drop. These are, of course, going to be one issue every day. So, Superman will be Monday, I think, and it'll be every Monday. Swamp Things is Sundays.
So that's technically one issue every week then.
Yeah.
But because there's a different series every day, so there's one.
Yeah, but you said that weird because you said it'll be every Monday, but that's not every day, then, is it?
Yeah, no, I got what he was saying though.
I didn't think that was that complicated. Of the whole line, it's one issue a day. Of the individual series, it's once per week.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so that was the first thing, and then the other one is we don't have dates for this, but this maybe gives us an indication of what's coming because we only have. I mean, we have next week, which is mostly reprints and a couple of small books. We have 2 weeks of publishing, again limited amount, but we only had 2 weeks worth, right, on the initial list. This maybe gives us an indication of what's going to be coming in the following weeks because we have a list of titles that have now been added to the order lists for the retailers for ordering books through this alternate distribution method. So I'll just. Actually, there's quite a lot here. Maybe I won't read them all.
A lot of them are graphic novels.
I read singles.
You'll be fine.
I would say, okay. Deceased and Killables number 3. We have Aquaman 59, Batman Beyond 43, The Flash 754, He-Man the Masters Universe number 6, Justice League 45. So some of the double shippers starting to squeeze in here, which is interesting. Red Hood Outlaw 45, Suicide Squad 5, Jimmy Olsen number 10, Teen Titans 41, Terrifics 27, Wonder Woman 755. Basket Full of Heads number 7, Dollhouse Family 6, Lola Woods issue 5, plus all the Black Label stuff basically is all getting the next issue. Plunge 3. Books of Magic 19, and then we're on to some Giants and trades, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, there's all trades after that. So I mean, the trades we kind of expected anyway because they go through the book market as it is. So obviously they go through Diamond as well, but they've always been through the book market in addition to that. So it's not a weird thing for them to also be there.
Yeah, it looks like there's another 16 or 17 actual books coming out, so that's maybe another 2 or 3 weeks, depending on how they split it up.
Given the amount of those first 2 weeks, I would say 3, but it's not impossible that they're actually ramping up a little bit and doing bigger weeks after those 2. So maybe the orders have been enough to justify doing bigger weeks.
Yeah, this might look at us till like the end of May, maybe.
Yeah. So, but no, it's interesting there that, I mean, it's funny how, like, essentially through this, Wonder Woman, Flash, and Justice League have all. Actually, no, Justice League was in the first batch as well, but Flash and Wonder Woman were. No, Flash was out. It's just Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is the one there that wasn't in the first batch that is effectively single shipping for May now because of this. Assuming this is what we're right, and this is going to be the second half of May. But we'll see. Because I mean, I'm not expecting there to be a gap, and then these come out early June or anything like that. That'd be kind of weird. But
that would be strange. Yeah.
But we're in strange times, so I mean.
Yeah, that's true.
Suppose it wouldn't shock me either. But yeah, so some books are on the way, so it looks like that we will have a consistent Comics from the Multiverse once we actually do come back in 2 weeks' time.
Barring them giving us a week where it's all books that we don't read again.
That's I mean, that is entirely possible. In which case we'll get inventive and we'll have like a super quiz episode or something, so I'll have time to prepare. We'll do a super multi-round quiz, all of it geared to let Matt win. So, but that is the news. So we'll dive into questions first. There's one quiz which is not comics related. Board now sent in I think a villains quiz that's based on movies and TV. But we'll do that at the end of the questions. We'll do all the questions first. So I'll start with the batch from last week. A couple of people may have asked questions again this week. Cool, you get double dose. But that is all cool. So from at Benny Wilson 93, there's a few here on Twitter. I'm just going to so this first one's flipping one of the common questions that we've started telling people not to ask us because it's been done like multiple times. We always get asked, who would be on your Justice League team? Like, how many times have we answered that? So he's flipping it here. What would be your ideal Legion of Doom team be? So this was a way of flipping things around.
This is a boring answer, but I kind of don't care about the Legion of Doom enough to have a lineup.
Well, Legion of Doom and Justice Gang, it's your own supervillain team. I think it's always your own Justice League.
I think for the most part, I don't. It all kind of depends on who the team is that they're up against, because it's got to be balanced against said team, right?
Yeah, the boring answer is really whoever I picked for my Justice League last time I answered that question, then take all their arch nemesis, and that's the Justice of Doom.
I'd approach this in a way of if I was writing a villain series, right? Who would I want on the team? Who would be fun to write? That's how I would go about it. Because I like when you get mismatches. Like, I don't know if you guys read the Brad Meltzer Justice League, but in that first arc, they come across against a Solomon Grundy that was reborn with superior intelligence, and that was a lot of fun. They fought an Amazo. So yeah, I like mismatches like that.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad idea. As far as members go, it's tough because part of me just kind of likes the idea of, like, if you got a Justice League that's the big 5 or the big 7 or whatever, then you have the big 5 or 7 kind of opposing villains that kind of matches them. But
yeah, my answer right now might be just the lineup that's on the Harley Quinn animated show, because that's a lot of fun. And
okay.
The Legion of Doom are a big part of that.
So who is on that? Because I don't watch that.
It's a lot of Gotham villains. You've got Riddler, Two-Face, Joker. I think Dr. Psycho was on it for a bit. You got a handful of various people. Basically, whoever they want for the episode is like, they're a Legion of Doom member. Is kind of how it works.
Gotcha.
It's fun when they do that.
Well, I don't know. All I would say is you need to have like 4 or 5 serious villains and then a wild card who's a bit more.
Yeah.
And usually that's the Joker, but you could play around with it and have it be someone else. I don't know. Does Mixie fit into a Legion of Doom as the wild card?
That's right with their Eclipso in.
Sure.
I love me some Eclipso. Plus he scratches the magic side. I'd have Cheetah. I'd probably have Riddler.
Oh, what a shock! Barbara Ann is
right?
Is in his Legion of Doom. I'm shocked.
But then I wouldn't put in any like Two-Face. Two-Face doesn't play well with others. He's having enough time trying to play well with himself, so he doesn't really suit a team. And Superman's rogues, it's Lex and Parasite, Metallo. Those are other ones that I don't know. That's the thing with villain teams, is really unless you're Deathstroke, it's hard to put a team around them.
I can see like Deathstroke and like Bane kind of get be on the same page.
Yeah.
I think the problem is, I think obviously Brainiac was a factor, but I think the problem with someone like Brainiac is that most of the villains on Earth would actually not want to side with Brainiac, because Brainiac wants to bottle all of humanity and doesn't really care about humans. So
it would have to be a Brainiac. Yeah, it'd have to be like a Brainiac drone that works with him. Not Brainiac himself.
Which I suppose is kind of the appeal of things like Secret Six. Not that the Secret Six
that's
ever did a Brainiac, story,
no,
but like.
But you had Parademon, and Gale made you care about Parademon, and then you had Ragdoll, and I mean that's the book that put me on to both Catman and Cheshire. So, which I wouldn't consider Catman a villain. He's an anti-hero. Same with Deadshot. Yeah, I think it's easier for anti-heroes. I like my villains to be villains. I don't like yeah, you can have the occasional, tragic backstory villain, but when that becomes the thing, it's kind of boring. Like, there's something refreshing about Joker just wanting chaos.
Yeah, I think the tragic backstory worked for like Freeze because not everyone had that at the time.
Right.
And now it's like, okay, it makes him less unique.
Right. I think it works with mercenaries, but you have your Deadshots, your Deathstrokes, those types. But you always need a Captain Boomerang, right? Who's just an utter shit.
I think there's room in each character's rogue gallery for certain types. So it's okay that Barbara Ann's kind of got a sympathetic backstory because you put her up against Dr. Psycho, you put her up against the other Wonder Woman villains. It's very different and very
Silver Swan, although that's another one that's
kind of tragic, sympathetic backstory.
I was just trying to name Wonder Woman villains, and Giganta.
Giganta's one,
That's not so much,
and then some of the gods are so kind of I guess they're closer to a Lex than they are a truly evil character, and they just think they're above everyone, and so on. And then you've got Kale, who kind of mixes the two together because she's kind of a Lex, but she's kind of got a sympathetic side as well because of the daughter.
And that's what I like what Rucka did with Cheetah was at the end, she's sympathetic, and the whole reason she's cursed, right? It's mostly on her, but she blames Diana. But at the end of it, she chooses it again. So now it's on her. She has nobody to blame for herself. So I do like that. There's a way to tweak it, but that's my soft spot. I do love Poison Ivy and Two-Face and Cheetah, and there is room for it. But when it's every single that seems to be the thing. My biggest problem with the Joker movie was I don't want to feel sympathy for the Joker. I just want him to be a madman. That's what I loved about Heath Ledger's Joker. He was a force of nature.
Yeah, he's just a complete and utter wild card. There's no predicting. There's no
exactly.
Just to sort of bring us back into the question, I would say that I guess what I would say, I wouldn't pick any specific characters here. I would say that I would want a theme. So either a team of thinkers who are masterminds, or a team of your evil bastards, or a team of your psychotic wild cards.
Do you not want a balance though?
But that's what all the teams usually have. So I'm going for something different to shake things up.
Right.
Fair enough.
So something where it feels kind of like how in Event Leviathan, right? We put together all these detective characters to try and take on this threat. I like the idea of what if Ra's al Ghul, the Riddler, Lex Luthor, and a bunch of the smarty villains, right? Say all team up to try and outsmart all the heroes. That's maybe a different type of challenge for the Justice League to take on.
Yeah, how have we not had a Ra's Lex story? Because I want to see those two butt heads. Because they're so similar, but they're so different.
That must have been one.
I know, but one that the fact that it doesn't immediately come to mind. I would never want to see Joker and Ra's butt heads, so that's not interesting to me. But Luthor versus Ra's, where they're both these egomaniacal, they're both Bond villains, right, Connor?
Pretty much,
just in different eras, though.
Yeah, I'm by that.
So, yeah.
All right. Same person, Benny Wilson 93. This is a spicy one. Would you rather always have delayed John's books but never read anything with the Lobdell writing or JRJR, or get John's books on time but have to read a Lobdell or JRJR book every week?
That was easy, the first one. Yeah. I've had to deal with delayed John's books for the last 4 years now.
It's already the reality we live in, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I try not to read either of those two unless they stick on action.
I guess the question is would you pay the price of having to read one of those two to get John's books more consistently?
No, because as much as I love John's, there's other writers I love now that I'll check out. So, it's a sacrifice I can make. Yeah.
All right, from Booster Green. I don't know if I'll think of an answer for this one, to be honest, but was your single saddest page/panel? Mine is a scene from Sandman issue 8.
This is easy, actually.
Is it?
It is, for me, Phonogram, the third volume, the I don't know if they printed them in the trade, but in the singles they had like short, like 2 to 6 page stories as like little backups. They call them B-sides because of the music theme. And I think it was in the first issue of Phonogram Volume 3. It was called Curse Words. Or Curse Songs. Sorry, I think it was. That breaks me every time I read it. Like, it's phenomenal.
Well, why?
So the concept is basically, it's a song you have a bad association with, right? You know, like a bad memory. But in the world of Phonogram, music is magic. So there is literally a curse. And it is basically just a guy, you know, it's essentially like a breakup song or whatever for this guy.
Yeah.
And he's just playing it on repeat, and you know, it's just causing him like this physical suffering. And his roommate comes in and is like, "Hey, you got to stop doing this. You can't do this." He's like, "All right, okay, I'll stop now." Guy goes back to bed, puts on the headphones, and presses play again.
Ouch.
Yeah. And the art, just all of it, it's so simple, but it's phenomenal. It's one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
I don't know if
I mean, outside of I have more shock.
Yeah, like, I was thinking of a moment from near the end of Why the Last Man, but it's this. I mean, it is sad when you think about it after the fact, but the actual moment itself is more of a shock, like what just happened, kind of beat rather than like a sad beat. So I don't know. I don't have a specific thing that springs to mind in this category.
I did shed a tear in Infinite Crisis when Connor sacrificed himself. That affected me. Oh, I take that back. Identity Crisis. When Batman wraps up Tim, and I don't want to spoil why, but there's a page drawn by, I think that's Rags Morales, that haunts me. Just, it is grief personified. And so yeah, I remember getting to that point, and I'm like, oh man, this is heavy.
Okay. Not bad. I mean, yeah, some of the DC moments that stand out is, you know, when Pa Kent died, you know, at the end of the Brainiac story or whatever. Like,
it's hard with deaths because it's so unpermanent anymore.
Yeah.
That it's not as. That's why with Connor, it did last for a minute, so it did feel like it meant something. But I have the inverse of moments, and both of them are Wally inspired, where it was a hell yeah fist pump. So
there's a lot more of those though, isn't there?
Yeah, that speaks to me more, right? Because I tend not to, stuff that makes me sad. I tend to stay away from.
No, I'm sure these sad moments exist for me. I just they don't spring to my mind. Thinking about them, I'm sure I've felt this multiple times in good books, but nothing's springing to mind. At Elusive Goose 85. Elusive, that's a good name. What are each of your top 5 active pencilers? I don't know if we're going to do top 5s, but we could definitely throw around some favourites here.
Active.
Now comes the pause of having not read comics in 3 weeks.
Who draws comics again? What are these people?
Matt, who draws good?
A lot of people. I love Evely. I love Lupacino.
I say all the time, but McKelvey.
Yeah. Having caught up with the Hawkeye books, I'm drawing a blank. Leonardo Romero, who did the Kate Bishop book. That art really spoke to me. Because it's very Somni-esque. Because I like Somni a lot, but I don't read enough of his stuff to where he immediately comes to mind. But it is those thick, clean lines of like mid-century. So there's almost a Silver Age quality, but modernized. That's real nice. Who were you gonna say, Pete?
Oh no, I was going to say that, like, I feel like I'm just going to regurgitate names that we seem to praise a lot on the show, because those are the ones that spring to mind because we talk about them a lot. But I mean, if we're counting Frank as active, and I think technically still you would.
Yeah. Frank.
I would, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he put out an issue more recently than McKelvey did.
There you go. Yeah, better than McKelvey, I agree.
I didn't say that. I said more recent. Because McKelvey's he had an injury for a start, which is going to slow him down, but he's working on his own book that's coming hopefully later this year. Who knows now?
he stubbed his toe, so he can't draw good.
I think he had like an actual like wrist and back injury. He's on like physiotherapy and stuff.
Another name that comes up is Bogdanovich. I really like his style. He's over at Marvel right now.
I like him. I don't know if I'd put that top 5 though. If I'm
No, but I'm trying to whittle down a list of names that are immediately coming to mind without having to look stuff up. You know, like because I was thinking about Terrifics and how much I enjoyed the art early on in that.
Because I'll tell you what, I mean, recently the one that stuck out the most to me was the artist did the first couple issues of Suicide Squad. I really liked.
Redondo.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was one that sprang to mind. Trying to think who
It's
else.
probably because Matt mentioned him earlier, and I'm scrolling through Twitter to see which pencilers are popping up as I scroll. But Mitch Gerrits is a strong contender.
Oh, Gerrits, yeah. No, his stuff recently has been great.
Gerrits is good.
In fact, I mean, it's hard to argue against Doc Shaner as well.
That's something that we didn't really talk about in the news section, because I don't think there was actually news articles about it. But Tom King was tweeting that he has turned in the final issue of a 12-issue maxi series that hasn't even been announced yet. It's a DC thing. It's with Jorge Fornes.
Oh, okay.
It's done. It's all ready to go. So we just
excellent.
Once that starts, there'll be no delays.
More on King later. I have stuff to say about King.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Spicy.
Yeah.
I just saw a King tweet as I'm scrolling looking for pencilers.
There's doing this weekly and stuff now. There are writers who I really like as people, but sometimes their work I'm not. And King's starting to edge towards there. I really loved the first issue of Strange Adventures, right?
Mm-hmm.
But some of his other stuff recently, not saying, but one of my favorite issues of all time is Green Lantern, the new or the Dark Side War stuff. There's that too. So it's weird, but he's a great follow on Twitter. Like him and Garrett's back and forth is fantastic. So it's weird.
I mean, hell, if he keeps knocking out these 12-issue minis, I don't think I'll hold that much of a grudge for Heroes in Crisis if he keeps knocking out at that quality.
Or the last end of Batman.
And Fornes, obviously, I wouldn't quite have him in my top list, but enjoyed every time he was on Batman.
Yeah, really good. All right, well, we'll move on then. This will be a quick one. At Sean Wall 747, what creative team would get you interested in Jason Todd? I'll give you a name. It's called Tom Taylor, and
he's doing it right now.
Even Tynan. I enjoyed the Red Hood and the Outlaws Tynan did back in New 52. Tynan understands the Bat relationships, so I think Tynan and whoever he wants to work with on something.
I don't know if Tynan is good enough to do it for me. I think there's a very limited selection of writers who are good enough to make me give a shit about a character that I actively dislike.
Gail Simone.
That's an interesting pick.
I think?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Gail would lean into his more, not negative, but his kind of, why we hate Jason Todd. I think she would lean on that.
What I think would turn it into,
yeah,
it would be really interesting. I don't think I would like him in the book.
Yeah,
I think I would like what the book was doing with him as a bad character, and I think Gail will probably lean into that angle of it.
Mm-hmm.
Nicolas Cage.
Huh?
Nicolas Cage.
Okay.
Well, could write a good Red Hood, or would make you interested in Red Hood?
I feel like it'd be worth reading. I mean, good's very subjective in this case, I think. But I feel like Nicolas Cage, going full Nick Cage...
Wait, hang on. What was the question? Was it what would make Red Hood good, or what would make you interested in a Red Hood book?
Interested in Jason Todd. That was the exact phrase.
Okay, well then, I guess Nicolas Cage is a fine answer to that question.
I mean, if you really want to get me, you try to look the second death of Jason Todd. And now we're talking. I say that, and I don't have as much hate as I used to for him.
Here's my team. Written by Nick Cage, art by David Lynch. I'm done. I'm in. I'm in.
Do you really think David Lynch could?
Yes.
Well, no, not that he can't, because obviously he does a lot of art. Anyway,
that's what he's doing. He wasted like 10 years of his career just there painting before he did Twin Peaks again.
No. But what I think is, do you think he can capture the madness of anyone else's mind that's not his own. I think there's just
Honestly,
too much, anything
Jason
else filtered
Todd-
through David Lynch's mind will
If-
no longer be recognizable as anything
I-
Nicolas Cage.
I don't know about that. If you take the best parts of Jason Todd and his return, you take the Judd Winnick Last Days, where he was resurrected via Lazarus Pit. I think David Lynch could tell a very, very Lynchian tale of Jason Todd.
I mean, there's a lot of
David Lynch can make me sit there and watch an interview with a monkey for 17 minutes.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah,
So
exactly. So
I mean, David Lynch is like the only person who I would actually trust to do some sort of like if anyone can represent what the inside of the Joker's mind is like, David Lynch is probably the only person who might actually be able to pull that off in a way that feels like it's not betraying the.
Can you imagine if they went, "Hey, David Lynch, do you want to do a Joker movie?"
what if he just re-edited the Joker movie?
What I think is, if David Lynch made a Joker movie, it would just be from Twin Peaks, James just on his bike, and it just all goes wrong because he loved his bike too much.
May the road rise up to reach your wheels.
Because he was always cool.
Just you and I. All right, I'll start with Twin Peaks references. That's having a hernia over there.
I'm not having a hernia. I just don't know what's going on, and I feel like I'm in a David Lynch movie all of a sudden. I don't like it. Been what's his name?
Hey, Matt.
Dennis Hopper isn't anywhere to entertain me.
Matt, make sense of it.
No. That's my relationship with Lynch. No. Elephant Man, yes. Everything else, no.
Oh dear. Okay, I want to stoke the fire here, but I'm not going to. Let's go to the next question. Next question. So yeah, we'll go to a couple from this week to round things out. So talking Superman, interesting and timely question, this one. What characters would you read a mini-series of them quarantined at home? It's an intriguing one. Who?
Harley and Ivy.
Booster Gold.
Yeah.
He'd be insane.
It'd just be Skeets there with him being completely normal.
Uh-huh. I know how this ends, but I got to stay in here because I can't let anybody else know that I know how this goes. You know? Yeah.
That's a good answer.
So.
I feel like you two went for like not only obvious answers, but really like
good answers.
Caricature.
You'd want to read.
You're self-caricaturized at this point, is what I'm saying. Like those were.
But the question is, you don't think it's what you would want to read? And of course, I want to read a Booster Gold title. Of course, Connor would want to read a Harley and Ivy. And I think that goes doubly for both of us.
Yeah, I think we'd happily read each other's books there.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, Superman has the Fortress of Solitude, but do I want to read him taking care of stuff up there? No.
Okay,
Like,
you know, I'll accept Booster Gold, but I don't want just like any of these characters on their own. I want Booster Gold quarantined.
It's got Skeets.
Well, let me finish my goddamn thought. I want Booster Gold trapped in quarantine with someone like Batman. I want Batman to have to put up with him for months.
Because Batman would turn into a murderer.
Therein lies the comedy.
Yeah, nah.
I feel like that, like a whole part of the quarantine. It's got to be the people who are already together anyway, and just seeing how they handle being just them for like
John and Damian in quarantine.
Sure, like because those characters are together a lot anyway.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. Rick Grayson and Dick Grayson. Trapped together.
Well, that got schizophrenic quickly.
Yeah, right.
Are we back to David Lynch ideas again? Is this Cooper and Doppelkoop? Is this the White Lodge and the Black Lodge and
Matt's lost again.
Praise Doogie?
Yep, I'm just ignoring all this.
All right, we'll move on then to one last question then from Matt Stanley Coda. So this was a double tweet. So what are your guys' thoughts on comics being influenced by movies and TV shows? The biggest instance that always comes to mind is the Suicide Squad we were promised towards the end of the New 52. It seemed like a really unique cast and something completely different that we're never really gotten before, but we didn't get it because the New 52 coming to a close and the movie getting announced, and that caused the roster to basically default back to the original kind of cast. And I'd forgotten about this, but he attached a photo to the tweet.
I still don't remember.
Okay.
It was like Poison Ivy, we got Black Hand, that looks like Cheetah there, Talon. Like, it's a really odd cast for a Suicide Squad book.
Sign me up.
So, and one dude I don't recognize, I have to admit. But hey,
send the picture along.
Oh, that's I think that's a
who's
Flash
the creative
villain
team?
that was in Venditti stuff, right?
was he a Flash villain from his stuff?
Yeah, that's his Reverse Flash, I think.
Oh, is it?
Hold on. What did you? He was in the Suicide Squad because that was a thing with Wallace during Rebirth.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
Which volume is this?
I'll send you the picture, Matt.
Yeah, I don't think it happened, though, Matt. I think that's the point. Is that
Right.
it never actually, this team that was proposed never actually came to be. So,
It was going to be Sean Ryan writing it, who did do some Suicide Squad.
Oh, okay.
Or is
So
that
basically, this would have been my Legion of Doom. So here we go.
Yeah, I didn't really like his Suicide Squad at all anyway, so even shaking up this lineup wouldn't have got me back in.
Yeah, but that's not the question, though. The question, this is just an example of movies and TV kind of affecting the roster. Because, I mean, admittedly, part of it may just be that because Rebirth was coming and things were all kind of going back to a familiar thing anyway. It may not have been the movies and TV, but it's hard to deny that sometimes this happens.
I don't mind it. It's an inevitability that things will seep across. I mean, people always get angry about stuff being, oh, well, it came from the TV show. So what? Kryptonite came from the radio show.
So did a lot of things. There's like 5 or 6 big Superman things that came from the radio show.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure him being able to fly was from the animated show because they didn't want to draw him. They didn't want to animate him leaping constantly.
Yeah, it was easier to draw him flying. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that as long as there's a give and take back and forth, right? It feels natural. It doesn't feel like they're just doing things. So like Marvel's really guilty of this, that they go and change things to fix, to match the movies. Like when they made Nick Fury the Watcher, they brought in his long lost son, Nick Fury Jr., who happens to resemble Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, that's such a weird one because obviously, like, you've got the Ultimate Universe Nick Fury, which was based on Sam Jackson already.
Right.
So then the casting of him was like, well, this is perfect.
Yeah.
And it was this feedback loop.
What's really weird about that, actually, is that because a few years later, they ended up bringing characters across from the Ultimate Universe anyway. They could have just had their cake and eaten it too at the time.
Yeah.
But
right.
That's what it is.
But no, but they couldn't wait.
I mean, honestly, my thing with this is, like, I have no problem with them taking stuff from movies and TV because the ideas are good, because they say, hey, this is something that works or whatever. I think in this example where it's like, it does, I mean, okay, technically the roster might be more or less coming from the movie, but the movie roster was already based in the comics anyway, so I think there's almost two different things we're talking about here. One is a movie or a TV show comes up with something that then is implemented into the comics. Then there's the other one where the movie or the TV show is doing the original or more traditional version of a character or team. So then the comic decides to try and revert back to have some sort of synergy. I think those are two different things happening.
Yeah, I think DC, I think the reason I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt on this Suicide Squad being more just, well, it was Rebirth, everything was going back to a more traditional place anyway, is they've been really good at just kind of doing whatever they want, even at the same time. When Dark Knight Rises came out, we had Dick in the backsuit.
Right.
Like they didn't care. They were like, well, we're not rushing through this. We're not getting Bruce back right away.
You're wrong.
They're not.
That was 2012. New 52 already started been on for a year by that point.
I must have seen a Dark Knight then.
That was 2008, which...
Yeah, that's about right.
Batman Reborn was 2009 onwards, so it was kind of on the verge. I don't know if it was quite there yet, though.
Shoot, was that?
2008 was...
together at one time.
But Batman R.I.P. I'm pretty sure was 2008.
Yeah, I might be right in the middle of when that was then. Like, but Bruce wasn't kicking around much.
Sure.
It might have been right in that on the cusp of that.
Well, also we didn't get ultra militarized Bane in the books.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So that's fine. Although we just watched that was on TV the other night, and there are parts of that movie I really enjoy, and then the magic rope happens and it starts unthreading for me. But the first good portion of that movie really goes. Ben Mendelsohn's fantastic.
That movie's fantastic.
There's little things that they could have done that just with a slight twist would have put it up. But
him climbing out of that well's a beautiful moment. I will not have
that's
this.
fine, but I don't need the magic rope.
What magic rope? There's no magic rope.
They hang him on the rope to reset his back, and now he can climb.
You don't know how injured his back was. No one checked him out.
I assume this is more just keeping him in the right position. It's like a makeshift kind of almost cast style thing. It's keeping it upright. It's keeping it straight. It's not doing anything magic. It's just keeping him in the right position for it to heal without it being healing at a funny angle.
Yeah, it's the exact same principle as keeping
your
a leg straight.
It does not work like that. And I might be a little bit because my dad broke his neck back when I was a kid. So
that's a neck, not a spine.
Connor, your neck's part of your spine.
Well, yeah, but it's not all your spine.
So,
no. It's not the part we're talking about here.
Yeah, no, there's just certain parts.
Why are we even talking about it? I had to bring this up for no reason.
Yeah, it's militarized Bane. They resisted, and it's fine. DC's been a lot better over time. But like Wallace when they brought him in on the Flash show, right? I forget that actor's name, but when they just made him Wally, and he's Iris's younger brother, it just fit. They didn't jump through hoops and made him like a alternate Earth version or whatever. It was just well, that's the other way.
Yeah, but that's one of those things where they wrote themselves into this weird corner because they didn't give her any siblings, so it couldn't be her nephew. Because in the comic book, Iris has 3 siblings, I think, something like that. 2 or 3.
But I think they retroactively turned it to it's the same brother, or something. That was Reverse Flash that he thought was his uncle was really his dad. It was this whole big thing.
That was a whole thing. I vaguely remember that. That was in the Venditti stuff. That wasn't very good.
Yeah,
that was right before I tapped out.
Yep, me too. So,
New 52 doesn't count.
But what I mean is the Flash TV show took that concept and they played ball with it. And they made it work better than they did in the comic, I mean,
honestly, you're mentioning, Iris and the West family here. That's one of the big examples I can think of from.
Joe West is one of my favorite TV dads.
Oh, he's fantastic. Yeah, but from TV kind of transitioning back into comics is okay. So we changed the color of them, and we did that before the New 52, around the same time.
No, when did the Flash TV show come
Flash
on?
time started in 2014. But Connor, your years are
My
all
years
off.
are really bad today. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say no, that's not. I mean, they de-aged.
They did. They changed that around. Man, my years are really bad today.
Yeah, they are.
Time is just not working anymore.
No, time is working. Time is working fine. It's sure it's not working.
I think it's just I've been sat inside for too long. That time is just.
I took a nap during the week and I woke up thought it was the next day. So I feel you, Connor. So
she finally caved and was like, right, okay, I'm going to take naps now.
Yeah.
So I've been telling her for 3 weeks. I'm like, it's fine, just take a nap.
I don't want to do that because I don't want to get called back to work and be used to taking naps in the middle of the day when I'm supposed to be working.
That's what she was saying, and then she gave up and took 2 naps in 2 days. And it's like
to be fair on mine, I ate way too much lunch, so I needed a nap to.
That's what
counteract.
Happened.
Yeah. So, but back to the subject. I'm trying to think of some other DC ones that. Again, they're pretty good at it. I mean, the Suicide Squad with the movie and that trying to.
I wouldn't.
Harley.
I wouldn't say they're good at it. I would say they're good at just not doing it most of the time.
That means you're good at it.
That's kind of what Matt means. Yeah. He's good. They're good at taking the right things, I think, rather than forcing everything.
I mean, one of the only examples I can think of. I never read it, but I know they tried to put Felicity in the Arrow comics. Back during the New 52. I never read any of it, but.
And they had Diggle in there, but Diggle was a pretty natural fit in the comic and worked completely fine, actually. And I think he was in the Rebirth stuff as well, right?
Yeah, he was kicking back. Yeah.
Yeah, he came back in the Rebirth because I know he was around. I think earlier. I think he was introduced in the comics in the Lemire stuff, if I recall.
I think so.
That sounds about right. And obviously that was when Arrow was fresher as compared to it is now.
Right.
Well, it's over now.
Well, exactly. That's my point.
Yeah, but it went way overboard with a lot of the stuff and became.
They went too far. But the Diggle itself, okay, that was a pretty reasonable, grab that fit quite naturally. And when it came to Rebirth, and we kind of did this classic reset back to a more familiar status quo, we still managed to have Diggle sitting around because he felt like he fit.
Actually, here's a recent one, is that all of a sudden Harley Quinn's associated with the Birds of Prey like all the time now for some reason, which she never was before, ever.
Right.
I'm not sure that's.
I mean, it's not in the main because there's no actual Birds of Prey book, but there's those basically one shots, or OGNs that are coming out that are just meant to.
Well, there's a mini series right now from Black Label, and there's the one shot from Mazzarella that's got Harley in it. So that's two Harley Quinn and Birds of Prey books.
The only thing I will say is I don't know if that's going to be any sort of lasting impact, or it's more just some synergy cross brand.
Yeah, it may not be lasting, but I mean, you can't deny that these things only exist the way they do because the movie exists.
Sure.
Right.
I think I will give the. I'm more inclined to give the Palmiotti and Connor one a pass in that they did random team up shenanigans and stuff anyway. Like they had like the Harley and Power Girl mini that was really quite enjoyable as part of their run. So them doing a Harley and Birds of Prey, while the timing is like, oh sure, this is why, it doesn't feel unnatural for part of their run because they were doing this anyway. The Azzarello one definitely is more just, well, this is because it was in a movie.
Yeah,
I'll give you that.
And I'm usually let it get delayed enough that it will be lucky if it meets the home release of the movie now at this point.
The home release already happened.
Oh, in that case, it's okay. It's way past that.
They brought the home release up early because of all the stuff.
Okay, well, I can't really laugh at them for that then, because the release got pushed forward, but it was supposed to be out months in advance. I think the idea is that the first trade might even be hitting by the time the movie's coming out in theaters, and then it's like the first issue it's not even an issue anymore, it's just a one shot. It's just.
It is just the trade, basically.
The whole thing, it was like there was a plan, and then it just crumbled and crumbled and crumbled to the point where I'm actually at the point now where I'm like, if it ever comes out now, it'll be this kind of weird oddity of like, hey, this is a time capsule.
Yeah.
Remember when this was announced and it was meant to be an ongoing, then a mini, and then a one shot, and then it still get delayed like 5 times. So, yeah, I mean. I mean, I don't really want comics to try and keep up with movies. Although, in a weird way, sometimes, though, I feel like they do a good job, at least the DC, of not changing outfits and things for the most part to try and match what the movie versions do, which I do appreciate. And but I do sometimes think that the comics can go a bit kablooey, right? And that's kind of what the problem with the New 52 was, is that we got this thing that was just so far removed from anything that anyone actually liked about DC Comics that Rebirth had to happen. And in that case, I don't think it was movies that did that, but I do think that sometimes, in theory, and this is amusing because this is the one example of Marvel doing the opposite thing, is that you would think with the Marvel movies being the hottest thing ever for like a good stretch of time over the last decade, you know, it was kind of weird that when they were at their height, essentially, after the first Avengers movie, that for some reason, like almost every single main Avengers character got replaced with another version, which is actually really odd. It's kind of like how the video game that's coming out is kind of missed the boat. Like the fact that they didn't get out in time for the last like proper. I mean, I say last proper Avengers just in the sense of that roster, that cast, right?
I actually I've been thinking about that recently because there was an article just kind of, hey, it's still coming, and it reminded me that it existed, and I actually think it might be really smart in the sense that it'll be just long enough that people will miss not having an Avengers movie. They'll miss not having it, and they'll be like, hey, I can get my fix.
Hey, you say smart. I don't think it was intentional.
Maybe not, but I think they kind of made them, once they missed it, they made the most of it by going, okay, we're not going to come out too close now that it's just fresh in everyone's mind.
I mean, the game still looks bland as shit, but sure. Like...
Yeah, it does.
I think I don't know if they've released the footage yet.
Someone-
But apparently, once they got to the Miss Marvel stuff, that was actually really fun looking.
Do
Apparently,
you know, I think part of the problem is that all the characters, like, and I get obviously they're not going to have the likenesses of the actors from the movies and stuff, right? And I even really like some of the actors they've got in the game because they've got, you know, Nolan North, they've got Troy Baker, they've got some really talented
Big
voice
names.
actors.
Good voice actors.
Yeah. Who've done some of the best, you know, voice work in video games that there is, right? The names that we know. And I see those designs for those characters and they feel like licensed. If you compare it to Spider-Man, right? You know, Insomniac Spider-Man in PS4, that game, it feels so confident, much like the Arkham games, of building its own version of their Spider-Man mythology, where here's our Spider-Man world, it's our version. Kind of like how Batman's animated series is its own mythology version of Batman. It feels like, oh no, this is our version, we're confident. I feel like I look at those Avengers designs and I'm like, these look like really bland, like we're not quite the movie version, but we're clearly trying to be.
Do you know
One
what
of
I
my
think
friends-
the problem is a lot of the like, okay, it's Captain America, like his suit. If you try and make it more realistic, there's only kind of a few ways it's gonna look, right? And that's ultimately what the game feels like, where it's like it's generic, but I don't think it's like being knockoff. It's just it doesn't look inspired. I'm hoping that the actual writing is better.
Yeah, but the problem is though, is that goes for every single one of them. Like they all look pretty.
One of my friends described as they look like the Walmart brand version of the Avengers. It's like it's Commander American.
And it's weird for me like, to look at a AAA game in 2020 and say that the graphics are really disappointing, but I look at like Thor's head and I'm like, that hair looks really like just rock solid and not moving at all. It looks really last gen.
He is the god of thunder, so it's got to stay put when he's to win.
No, but I don't want to.
Does he use Jello wax?
I want it flapping around when I'm flying around. That's the exciting visual. Like,
I mean, Thor's much more of a bro, so he probably uses wax. He doesn't want it to be crunchy.
see when the Tomb Raider reboot came out and I played it in PC for the first time, running around and watching the hair bob up and down, like because they've done all the hair physics.
It's
Beautiful.
weird because I get what you're saying and it's nice. And I'm like, oh, that's some pretty hair. After 10 minutes, I don't give a shit. I just want to know how it plays and if it's fun.
I give a shit because if it's rock solid and it's like just static, I notice it the whole game. It'll bug me the whole time because it just looks like cheap and nasty.
I happily go back and play games from years ago that are graphically dated by today's standards, like very significantly. Gameplay holds up. It's still a good game.
Yeah, I'm not saying that isn't the case, but like we're not in those eras now. We're in a new era.
Like, it's why it doesn't bother me because I do it so often. It doesn't bother even on a new game. It just doesn't bother me as much. Where sure, it's nice if it looks good. Sure, it's great, but the feeling that you're talking about of like you notice it. I lose that after like 5 minutes, and I just kind of end up with okay, this is what it is, and it stops. It stops pulling me out of it. As long as the game's good enough to keep my attention.
I mean, I might still like the game for other reasons, but like, I will always annoy me that something looks that weirdly dated.
For me, it's a problem that compounds if it's not fun enough or it's losing my attention, then the graphics compound and I notice them more because my attention is there to be grabbed by the looking dated. If the game is good enough that I'm invested, I'm into it, I'm having fun, I tend to not even notice them as much. It doesn't catch my eye because I'm too busy having fun.
If it's something that games that have a fraction of the budget can pull off, we're at the point where if a AAA game's making this mistake or not being able to pull something off, I'm just kind of like, wow.
Well, you never know. Maybe this is why they delayed it.
Oh, so they could fix the hair.
You just don't know.
So that Thor's, it's like an action figure. It's like he's got the plastic, hair on his head. That's what it looks like. Bugs me. The short hair, whatever, because the short hair. I mean, short hair doesn't move. It's one of the benefits of the short hair characters. But Black Widow and Thor, their hair just looks like bleh. I don't know why the question led us to that point, but hey, that's where we are.
God knows.
Well, it is an adaptation, so it fits in the.
That's true. That's true. And likewise, I mean, Carr tried to bring up the Batman movies and failed miserably because both of them were either before or after the Dick Grayson period.
I'm still okay. I maybe was not quite right on Dick Grayson. It was right on that cusp of Bruce was out of the picture.
Let me make my point. All right, you can defend yourself, but let me make my point. Is that one thing that did come out right in the Dick Grayson era was Arkham Asylum, the video game. And there was no attempt to make everything feel like that. It was just, no, that was its own thing. Much like the Spider-Man Insomniac game. It was, this is their version of this world, and that's cool.
I think what's notable about the Arkham and the Spider-Man games is both ended up, and actually I think the Avengers game as well, all ended up getting their own comic adaptations, tie-ins, imprints.
Oh, sure, yeah. But...
so they didn't feel the need to kind of implement these into mainline continuity because we can just publish something extra. I
don't think that's why. I think they publish those things because they see an opportunity to make a quick penny because some people are drawn in because of those things.
Almost certainly, but I suspect it removes a little bit of the temptation because they can have the cake and eat it too, right? They can have both at the same time.
All right, not too much video game talk for you, Matt.
Yep.
Well, more on that later.
Yeah, you've played Spider-Man. You've got opinions.
And I've beaten Fallen Order, which we'll talk about when we get to video games.
That's got a video game to talk about? Oh, jeez.
I do.
Oh, my God. All right, so I'll do questions. Let's do the quiz that Board now prepared for us.
Here we go.
Let me just get this bad boy up. So this is a villains on the screen quiz, I think he called it. I'll have the actual text up in a second. So, 10 questions. I believe it was also multiple choice, so I'll do a little roll here to see who's going first. It's multiple choice, 4 options, just like our usual. Mm-hmm. So, who gets to go first? I've moved my dice. I cleaned my desk this week. Everything's away.
Do a coin toss.
I don't have a coin.
Right, look. Matt, pick one.
Heads.
It's flipping, it's heads. There you go. What do you want?
I don't know if I trust Connor, but alright, fine. Matt goes first.
I gave Matt the option of whether he wanted to go first or second with the heads.
First.
You may want to go. You may want to go second though, so you may have given it him intentionally. All right.
That's why I gave him the option, not like he's going first. It's like Matt gets to choose.
So this is villains, both from movies and TV. This quiz. Okay. Number 1 for Matt. I should probably be taking points down for this, shouldn't I? Number 1 for Matt. Which of these actors has not played Fu Manchu?
Oh, God.
A. Christopher Lee, B. Nicolas Cage, C. Henry Brandon, or D. Peter Lorre?
I'll say C because we're counting Nick Cage in the Rob Zombie Werewolf Women of the SS. So I'll say C.
C is incorrect. Connor's got a chance to steal a point.
D.
D. Peter Lorre is correct. Connor gets a point.
Yeah.
Like that. I'm going to get my pad so I can actually take down points.
So unprepared.
Look.
Also, C was the only actor I didn't recognize.
It's always some good logic to go with.
Yeah,
it works. Why not? Shambles. Absolute shambles.
What? Is that all he was talking about while I was gone? Is how much of a shambles things are?
Actually, it wasn't. Only for the last 2 seconds. But I mean, was a shambles.
Alright. Carter's got a point. Alright, number 2 for Carter first. Which rock star was considered for the part of the Joker in Tim Burton's Batman? Was it A. Iggy Pop, B. David Bowie, C. Henry Rollins, or D. Mick Jagger?
Before you even said any of the options, my mind went to Bowie, so I'll go with that.
Bowie's correct. Carter's got 2 points. I don't like this, Matt. What are we doing? Number 3. Who played the Master in the debut season of the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
God.
Was it A?
It couldn't have been a Doctor Who related Master question.
Was it A. Mark Metcalf? Was it A. Mark Metcalf, B. Brian Thompson, C. Henry Groner, or D. Nathan Fillion?
The Master. No, Fillion was someone else. Remember that because he pokes Sanders' eye out.
Spoilers.
Yeah, sorry. I'll go A.
That is correct. Mark Metcalf was the Master.
Jeez, all right, on the board.
Oh, jeez.
You're lucky you got that one right, because I actually knew that one.
Yeah. Thompson did play characters. He played Luke and the Judge. Groner played the Mayor in season 3, and Fillion played Caleb in season 7.
Caleb, that was his name.
Yeah. There you go. Number 4 for Connor. Which of these was not a villain on the X-Files? Cigarette Smoking Man, B. Toombs, C. Deep Throat, or D. John Lee Roche?
What was B?
Toombs.
Sure, let's do that.
No, incorrect. Matt.
I'll go with C. Deep Throat.
Deep Throat is correct.
That's from the Watergate scandal.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is why I assume they might have done it just to be clever.
Yeah. I mean, maybe with the Lone Gunman, and this is me not knowing too much about X-Files. So.
Yeah, I've like watched however many episodes was in that revival thing that we covered, and that's about it.
Wait, I'm confused this though. He's added a bit of trivia here saying played by Jerry Hardin, he was a season 1 informant for Mulder. But the answer, that question was which is he's not a villain.
Right, so maybe Deep Throat wasn't a villain.
Oh yeah, he's not a villain then, okay. He's just there.
He's a character, so Connor was right in that he showed up, but he wasn't a bad guy.
He's just there. Alright. Number 5, for Matt, which of these was not a method used by James Bond to kill a villain? A. Blows him up by inflation. B. Places a bomb against his balls and tosses him overboard. C. Uses a cigar as a flamethrower using spray. Or D. Runs his wheelchair off some tracks into a very deep hole.
Oh man, I'm not the Bond guy, so I'm sure Connor will get this.
There's too many ways he's killed people that I can't remember all of them.
This is the way that Bond has killed someone?
Which one?
Attempted...
Which one has he not used to kill someone?
Oh shoot!
So he's done 3 of these.
I'll say the cigar and the flamethrower.
That is correct.
Ah, that one just seems too Looney Tunes.
He used it on a snake. Not a villain.
Yeah, it was in. Is that in Live and Let Die? It might have been in Live and Let Die.
Yes, it says so. Yeah.
That's Roger Moore, right?
Yeah, I can picture the scene.
Number 6, I doubt it. For Connor.
Screw you. It's a great movie.
Which Desperate Housewives actress played a psychotic but sexy Dr. Kimberly Shaw in 90s show Melrose Place?
I know this.
Oh, do you?
Of course you do.
Well, Connor's getting the first track at it.
I know.
Is it A. Felicity Hoffman, B. Terry
I'm going to go C. I'll save you some time.
It was not C. Marcia Cross. No. D. Actually, no. Wait. That's D. That's C. Marcia Cross. Never mind.
Son of a bitch. She's taking off the wig and she has a scar. And she also played the I watched the first 4 seasons of Desperate Housewives because of Terry Hatcher.
Of course she did. Yes.
Yeah.
Which one's Marcia Cross in Desperate Housewives?
Marcia Cross she's like the perfect mom. She has the gay son. That's a big to do in mid 2000s TV.
That's how you spell Marcia? That's not the only way you spell Marcia, is it?
Yeah. That's one of the ways.
I mean, you can still spell it with an SH, right, though? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but on Melrose Place, I don't know the thing. It's one of these famous things where she takes off this wig and she has this big scar, and that's how you know she's a bad guy. Because she's disfigured. Because 90s.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. In my defense, the first time he wrote it's spelled differently both ways it's written here. The first time, the I's before the C, which is why I said Marisa. All right. Number 7 for Matt first. So yeah, bored now. Be consistent with your spelling at least. Number 7. Which Oscar-nominated actress played the lead villain in Jessica Jones Season 2? A. Janet McTeer, B. Judy Davis, C. Jennifer Tilly, or D. Jennifer Connelly?
I have no idea because I didn't even finish Season 1.
Well, I knew it wasn't 2 of these, and I watched some of Season 2. But I
can tell you it's probably not 2. So give me A and B again.
Janet McTeer or Judy Davis?
I'll say B.
Incorrect. Connor, what are you going for?
I watched half of Season 2. I don't remember any of these in it. So, A?
Is correct. Janet McTeer?
I would know if Jennifer Connelly was on.
That was my thought. Surely I'd remember her.
I would have watched it.
Yeah, I'd also remember Jennifer Tilly because, from Chucky and stuff.
Chucky.
Yeah. So number 8 for Connor first. In which movie did Freddy Krueger deliver the iconic lines? I'd get this without the options. I just know where this is from. The iconic line is, "Welcome to prime time, bitch." Right, that's your line. Is it A, Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, B, A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, C, A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, or D, Wes Craven's New Nightmare?
I have the box set of all of them sat out there, and I've never watched a single one.
Oh, man.
It's been sat there. It's been sat in my front room for about 8 months.
Like, I'm going to be honest, I feel like Borno just wanted to hear my impression of that line again, because I've done it before.
Yeah, like it's been sat in the front room for like 8 months, and I just not touched them. I had planned to watch them last October and just didn't. So that's how long it's been sat there. D.
It is not New Nightmare, Matt.
It's I would say because I've only seen 2 of them and I don't remember that line, so I'm gonna say it's from Dream Warriors.
Dream Warriors is correct. The best Nightmare on Elm Street movie, for the record.
I like New Nightmare just because it set the stage for.
I don't think it holds up. I just watched it for screams, and I thought it was I was a bit lukewarm on it. I'm trying to say.
I just remember the glove coming alive and killing her husband, or attacking her husband. That was fun.
You can add the last 2 questions here. We're at 4 each.
Oh boy!
It's a dead heat. So, Matt, to keep in the game.
All right.
What nationality was the villain in Lethal Weapon 2 who delivered the iconic line, "Diplomatic immunity"? Is it A, Polish, A, Polish, B, British, C, German, or D, South African?
It's South African.
Of course it's South African.
Oh, I thought there were at least going to be like 4 similar-ish sounding accents, maybe?
British.
I just remember that one because Joe Pesci's in 2, right?
Yeah, he's in 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, and so he's trying to get Murtaugh to South Africa, and the person at the thing's like, your friend does not want to go to South Africa. So because of what was going on at the time. But yeah.
Yeah. All right, so number 10 for Connor, get first crack. If you get this right, it's a tie. If not, Matt's get a chance to steal it and win the game. Oh, this is a hard one.
He wins anyway, right? If I get it wrong.
No, because it's 5-4 now.
Yeah, so if he gets it wrong, you still win, but then you could win by 6 if you get it right as well. Yeah. Fair point. Right, number 10. Who plays evil German Baron von Richthofen in Blackadder Goes Forth? I mean, it's a British TV show. I mean, Connor's got a better chance than Matt did.
I don't like Blackadder.
Is it A, Rick Mail, B, Adrian Edmondson, C, Stephen Fry, or D, Hugh Laurie? I've seen this series. I actually quite like it, this one. And I'm fairly certain all 4 of these actors are in it.
I know the last 2 definitely are.
Well, they're British, so of course they're on British TV. Like, that's all I know is Fry and Laurie.
God damn, I don't like Blackadder.
Is that the one with Mr. Bean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rowan Atkinson.
Yeah. B.
B, Adrian Everson is correct, which ties the game
Ooh.
at 5 apiece. So, I don't know what to say about that. I feel like, on the one hand, some of those were too easy. But there was a couple of lucky guesses along the way. But there was none that at least someone didn't steal. Because, I mean, there's 10 points have been given out, so there's a point for every question. Right. So...
Yeah, we neither of us whiffed on the other. You know what I mean?
So, I guess it wasn't as exciting as it could have been.
No. I'm still in the lead though.
Oh yeah, you've still got the more wins. Yeah. You can have that. All right, cool. So that is the questions, the quiz, all that stuff. Nice and done, and we can move on to comics books that have been read. Obviously the Patreon books, because there's a bunch of those coming at the end of the show. I've got 2. Connor's got 1. But now I have still not read it. I'm on a sabbatical from comics. I've been playing video games all week. I mean, I did read comics previously, and I obviously read my Patreon books. But other than that, I've been on a sabbatical. Matt, you've been reading anything this week?
Oh yeah. I started and finished Kelly Thompson's Hawkeye with Kate Bishop, and it is fantastic. Kate Bishop is in my favorite comic characters. In fact, she's the background on my phone right now. So yeah, it's Hawkeye investigations in LA, and her dealing with some of the fallout from the faction stuff. So it fits in really, really well. I have to go back and read the Young Avengers that takes place in between, I think, and then follow that up with West Coast Avengers. And I think that'll be the majority of Kate Bishop. Because I haven't read the first Young Avengers series where she showed up initially. But yeah, but no, it's really good. I'm almost hoping they use this as the TV show now. Now that I'm pretty sure Renner's out. If they just want to do a Hawkeye series with, I don't know how they would do it. That's not my job to figure out. But her in LA trying to start a story of the week kind of detective story, I think would be a lot of fun, especially for Disney Plus. But Lucky shows up, the pizza dog. Of course, Hawkeye shows up at a certain point. Kelly Thompson does this really, she does a really good job at creating a supporting cast out of, she goes out there, she has nobody. And then, the people from the community in Venice where she moves, they start to show up and befriend her, and she gets her own Scooby gang. So that's a whole lot of fun. Madame Mask shows up as her, that's her arch, and it works. So, but yeah, I can't say enough good things about that book. Anybody else read anything because I've also read some things.
I just read some more Black Panther.
Uh-huh.
Still good. I finished the first arc. Is like the first 3 trades.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 12 issues.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. And I also read the next, because after that is set the World of Wakanda.
Yeah.
Mini. It was like 6 issues. First 5 of which are by one writer and are like one story, like a 5-issue mini, and then the 6th one is something else entirely. I don't know if they had planned to do more and do another writing, or if it just wasn't selling well, or if it was always just we've got one extra issue, and we don't want to do it as a one shot, so just throw it in here. Right. But those 5 issues in general were a pretty solid story. I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to, given that it's just this kind of side book that's set mostly in the lead up to Coates' actual run. It's just more in the events preceding it. But it was pretty enjoyable. But that's pretty much all I've read. Outside of the stuff I previously, I've been reading actual books and games instead. Books. Yeah, books.
Every time I threaten that, I end up just reading more comics because I have a problem.
Yeah, I have 3 books on the go at a time. Usually, I usually have.
Good Lord.
I usually have a book on my tablet, so something digital that I tend to read at night. A physical book in print that I read in usually a lot slower, and then I tend to have an audiobook going as well. So I got 3 going at once.
Jeez.
So I actually just finished my print book in like an hour before we started recording. I was sat outside in the sun reading, so I finished that. Gotcha. That was the second of the Earthsea books, which I'm really enjoying. They're a bit dated in terms of the style, because they're like 60s, 70s fantasy stuff, but that's solid.
Yeah, but fantasy's kind of timeless, though, right? Like,
yeah, I just mean in the actual the ideas are the actual prose of it is a little bit more stilted than you would get now.
Yeah.
And then I'm reading an X-Wing book from Star Wars stuff on my tablet because I'm working through those.
Right.
They're split up really weirdly because so the first 4 is one writer, and it's like this quadrilogy of Rogue Squadron, and then after that another writer comes in and does a trilogy which is Wraith Squadron, which is like a kind of a companion squad. So like Rogue Squadron, the whole point of that was they're the best flyers, but can also handle themselves on the ground missions as well.
Right.
Wraith Squadron takes the kind of the opposite approach of no, they're the best like ground team you could have, but are also good enough flyers. So it's kind of this complementary piece.
So they're almost like the Blackhawks at DC.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. So I think there's actually another set of books after those first 7 by another writer, but I haven't got to those yet, so I'll worry about them later.
Oh, Lord.
And then the audiobook I'm on is the second book of the Poppy War trilogy. The third one's not out till later this year. I spoke about the first one actually, I think on the first episode of Quarantine. Yeah, no, it's that first one was really good. Second one, I'm only a few chapters in, so I only just started that like yesterday, but solid start.
Nice. Yeah, so I keep trying to read the Charles Soule Oracle Year, and I just comics have ruined my attention span sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get through a bunch of pages. Also, when I'm trying to read, it's when people are trying to get my attention in the house. They don't, if my iPad's in front of me, they know not to bother me. But if I have a book, apparently that's fair game. So,
that's weird. Yeah, we were talking about this. I used to be able to blast through like 300 pages a day, like comfortably. Whereas now I do, 30 pages, a couple of chapters, and I'm like, okay, I'm slowing down now.
What part of book in front of me means talk to me?
Yeah.
Or what's going on? What asked me to do something?
So I went outside with a book.
Yeah, right. Well, I did that until the temperature turned up here because I live in a damn desert.
Yeah.
And now you go outside and it's uncomfortable. That said, I went outside to read last weekend and heard my neighbor singing. So that was fun. But no, the other comic I powered through, and I mean that, is Tom King's Superman Up in the Sky, which I remember Pete starting at one point.
Yeah,
I read the first issue as well.
I read the first 2, because I think the second one was the boxing one.
Yeah. That's issues 3 and 4. So, it's Tom King doing the most Tom King story he can, and it's this little girl goes missing, and Superman's her favorite hero, and now he makes a pledge to bring her back from where she is. But King uses it to do his story style, where I'm going to tell a bunch of seemingly not connected stories that are tied together by a phrase. And in this one, it's multiple phrases. It's like, I can't. And here it's like Superman can't stop, because he's made a vow. And then the little girl won't stop believing in Superman. So the sentiment I really enjoy. I just wish I enjoyed reading it. And I don't know if it maybe in the format that it originally came out in, it's better because it's almost, I don't want to say dreamlike, but it's very amorphous, where you can't tell what era this is supposed to be taking part in. Like, they would have been really good in annuals, if they were just standalone stories.
Sounds like it's a series of vignettes that he felt obligated to tie together.
Yeah, but there's still the thing that's pushing forward is Superman's looking for this little girl, and he has to go off planet. And in each one, so like the boxing one that Pete brought up, it is really good, and it's basically, in order to get information from this group of aliens, he has to box this guy, but basically no powers, right? So it's just basically super strength and invulnerability against super strength and vulnerability. And Superman shouldn't win. Like, this guy has him, like, Superman's actually the underdog for once. And basically, Superman's not going to stop. It's this belief that this little girl's waiting for him. It's going to drive him through to finally the other boxer just tells the ref to start counting. He's like, I'm not getting up. And they're like, why? You could beat him. He's like, no, he's not going to stop. Every time I knock him down, he's just going to get up. And this is going to go on forever. So let's just end it now. So it's really good. But then a couple issues later, somehow Superman ends up back in time during World War II and does a mission with Sergeant Rock. And it's just kind of explained away that, he went through a black hole and he has to get to this, church, and it's Superman inspiring Sergeant Rock about truth, justice in the American way. And it's like, okay, well, this would have been cool in some kind of annual, like the man in funny clothes showing up on the battlefield and helping them, where he ends up joining the Easy Company with the code name Kansas, because that's all he can remember, about him is that he's from Kansas. But yeah, it's kind of like Nightmares, but with Superman, except not.
What a pitch.
It's inverted where it's about hope, right? So it's not about Batman's worst fears coming to life in different ways. It's about Superman, going through, and there's a whole issue where basically he's worried about Lois because he's not there. He's off planet, and people know he's off planet, and he's trying to get a hold of her. So he's basically in this like communication center, and it's bureaucratic hell. And it kind of reminded me of Douglas Adams when he talks about bureaucracy and what was it, the Hitchhiker's Guide, that they keep calling his number, and he's trying to tell them like, we already went through this. He's like, well, you got to sit and wait for your name to be called. He's like, I did. And you can tell Superman's getting very frustrated, but he's going to put up with it because he wants to hear from Lois. Because he wants to know that she's okay. And every time he has to wait, he's envisioning something bad happening that he wasn't there to stop. And it's something that you could tell means a lot to him as someone that was overseas in the CIA, right? And had to be away from his family. And he's applying it to Superman, which, again, this would have been fine in any annual. But as part of this larger narrative, it kind of just puts a halt on things. And it's very weird. So I get why they put it in the Giant. But as these 10-page stories, I don't know. I got to the point where it's like I could read these through the week, or I could just finish it right now. So I stayed up late, fought this, the want to sleep real quick to finish through them, And that said, if you are wanting, I was missing DC, why I chose to pick this up and read it. And now I'm kind of like, well, I'm still missing DC.
Yeah, I'm kind of tempted to just try some of the
Well, I did.
Giant digitals.
Did you try any of the digital first? Because I did the Venditti Superman, which
How was
it was good. It's not the best. I don't like Venditti's dialogue for Parasite because it's very one note. Because the story is Parasite attacks, wanting more and more power, and it's set at this weird time where I don't know if Superman and Lois are married, but they're trying to keep it, or Clark and Lois are married, but they're trying to keep the relationship a secret, kind of still. So when he has to go off, he leaves his clothes with Lois, and Lois has to throw him over the side of the building. And she gets mad because he's like, the third suit this week we've had to do this too. So there's some comedy there, and Perry yelling about it, about where'd Clark go off to when all this is going on. But it's basically that Superman basically talks to Parasite. Instead of trying to fight him, he takes him up to the moon and powers him down. He's like, look, you can drain me, and then we're both stuck here forever. Or you can, try to let me help you. So it's... Venditti writes a very good Superman, I'll say. Just as Parasite seemed to be a little bit off, because he seemed like Supermanic, and all he kept yelling was power. It was like, okay, we get it. He wants to absorb as much power as he can. And then it ends with Lex basically going like, I can't compete with this man. I got to do something. So it seems like it's going to be just like I don't want to say a throwaway because throwaway seems bad, but just like a fun little light Superman story that hits on all the stuff that I love about the character.
That's kind of what I expect from most of them. Nothing.
Yeah.
Just some fun little stories. I'm kind of intrigued by the Swamp Thing one because it's Mark Russell.
I'm definitely going to check that one out.
Gail Simone on Flash sounds like it could be fun.
Yeah. So I do recommend the Superman one if that sounds like your jam. Like I was there for Venditti, and let me pull up the art because I still have it on my iPad. Because the art was decent as well. Like it wasn't, again, that's with a lot of these is the art's not going to be, or the story itself might not be the best, but it's Paul Pelletier, who did.
Oh yeah, it's a name we're familiar with on this show.
Yeah, and it's decent. Like it looks like Superman, and in Parasite when he's absorbing all the energy from like a power facility and he wipes out Metropolis. That was another part of the story. Now I'm going back through is Superman ends up getting Metropolis because they're all freaking out about the power. And well, what are we going to do? My medicine needs to be, taken and I need the power to do that. And he basically inspires all of the citizens to be like, you got to look out for each other here. We're all in this together. Check on your neighbors, And again, it's very Superman. But yeah, I forgot to say the art on Up in the Sky is one of the Kuberts. It's Andy Kubert. It is hit or miss. I mean, when it's good, it's really good, but when it's bad, you can tell, which I think is Andy Kubert in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but no, I do recommend that one, the Venditti. I'll be checking that out again on Monday when the new one comes out. It is well worth the time, and I'm curious to hear from anybody else too. Any of the listeners, if they read any of these, I'm curious to see, because I saw the Batman one has a story by Brad Meltzer, which I was surprised about.
Yeah,
So
the
I
Batman
might
one
check that out.
has 2 stories in it, I think, and one of them had Jim Lee on art, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's the Meltzer story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So I might check that one out. I don't know. I'm definitely gonna, save up for, not save up, but put my effort towards the Swamp Thing one, because I do like Mark Russell. He hasn't let me down yet.
I was going to say, how expensive are the Swamp Thing stories you have to save up for?
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, and that because I also started All New Wolverine, which
Yes.
I'm about 3 issues into, and I'm not quite sure. Like, it's Tom Taylor, it's fine, but I don't know if it builds to become something.
Stick with it.
No, because I started reading this, and it took about the first 8 or 9 issues. I was like, I mean, it's fine,
Yeah.
it was all right. But it wasn't like amazing off the bat. But it was like, I mean, it's all right. I'll stick with it. It was probably around the early to mid teens where I really went, oh, I actually really like this book now.
Okay. Yeah, I have the majority of it. I picked it up, so it's only a matter of time. I do like Gabby, although they guest starred in a Hawkeye issue, and Kelly Thompson really had those characters down. So seeing where they started, it's really interesting. And then plus Lucky and the Badger, or the Wolverine, the actual Wolverine.
Yeah, the actual Wolverine.
It's good.
Don't worry, Honey Badger.
Yeah.
Yeah, she will be nailed
already
by the time you get through that run.
She's already 3 issues in, and she's the high point. The art's kind of spotty, and I don't know if it's the same art all the way through, but like the faces are a little bit weird.
I think there's a handful of different artists that work on the book.
Okay, like it's not. I wouldn't say it's bad. It's just the width of the faces. They're very, and I know that the first arc's about a lot of her clones. So it's very samey. Yeah. But luckily they have markings on their faces to tell who's a part. But yeah, I will say though that the artist draws Laura short and stout like Wolverine, which I like, because I see her and she's kind of drawn as a typical comic book girl. So to see her like short and like almost like people get this, she's almost built like Alexa Bliss. More so than Sasha or Becky Lynch. That I do like that, because that is a thing about Wolverine, right? He's a smaller wrecking ball of a human being. Although you will have to explain to me when did Wolverine become her dad and not just her clone DNA?
I don't really think it was a change so much. It's just more of a
okay.
They had a relationship at some point.
Yeah, okay. So is that something that, because she's referring to him as her father at this point, is that something that Taylor brought up?
Yeah, he's obviously the host DNA, and she is essentially a daughter in the sense that she is from. You could have argued sister, but I think it's more just the age difference and the relationship they had.
Yeah. Okay. Because I thought that was, because I know that was something that the Logan movie brought up, where that's how Mangold played that relationship, was like a distant father-daughter. So I didn't know if that was that playing out. Because
it is. It's the same thing you could say between Laura and Gabby, that they're sisters because they're close in age, right? Whereas you add a few more years between them and you got mother-daughter, even though the DNA is virtually identical, right?
Yeah. Right. The moment where Honey Badger gets the idea to use the name Honey Badger is still one of my favorite moments.
Okay. I mean, I'm gonna stick with it, because again, Kelly Thompson's characters of who they become and how well they played off of Kate was fantastic. That whole issue where they guest star, But I'm reading this and I'm 3 issues in, going like, this is fine, but I need to pick Pete's brain a little bit.
It probably took me like 3 or 4 months to get through the first 10 issues, just off and on, being like, it's fine, but I didn't have the motivation. And then once I got to those mid-teens, I read the rest of it in about a week or 2.
Okay. Yeah, that's how I was with the Fraction Hawkeye and then the Kelly Thompson Hawkeye. Like those, I could not. I'm gonna pick those up physically when I get a chance because I have them digitally because I want them on my shelf. I love them that much. So yeah.
Yeah,
and maybe I'll feel the same about All New Wolverine.
I never had a problem getting through those early issues. I mean, they're not as good as where it goes, but I never had a problem.
Like, it's not that there's a problem with them. They're not bad. They're just all right. And
I just know.
I think part of it is coming at it later, like me and Matt did. Obviously, I was earlier than that, but coming at it later when I think the series was like coming into its final issue or two when I started reading it. Like it's got all this hype and everyone's like it's such an amazing book and you're reading these first few issues and you're like, I mean, yeah, it's fine, and you're kind of going, if this is what everyone's so excited over, I'm not sure I care enough to really power through in the same way that everyone else is.
If I had the weekly comic grind, I definitely it would be on hold, whereas I would have been delaying my DC reading for the Hawkeye books because I was enjoying them that much. Whereas I think these would just go on the back burner until I got caught up. Oh shit! I keep hitting my mouse pad and it hurts my finger. But yeah, I mean, again, it's fine. Like I don't want people to think that I'm like, oh, these are trash, because that's what I'd heard from some of my friends at the shop, where they're like, oh, that's not a good book. But some of those guys edge towards the older side, where any kind of change, like this was not their Wolverine, so they were a little bit kind of salty about it to begin with.
I was just annoyed when they changed it back, to be honest. By the end.
Yeah.
Which actually is a good point. When you're done with that, read Tamaki's 12-issue run as well.
Yeah, I started that and then I got behind. I was reading review copies from a friend.
Honestly, it's a perfect continuation of this book. So once you'll mean more to you when you've read the Taylor book first.
Yeah. And I was enjoying what was going on just with the X-Men mythos, and there's another thing that made me realize that I read the Hawks and Pox stuff. And Hickman has changed the X-Men mythos so much that I'm kind of not interested in stuff going forward now, which is, it's like a weird thing, because I like this interconnectedness. Like Angel's in the first few issues of this, he's the time displaced one, and I forgot him and Laura were dating. So like him showing up, or Laura and Gabby showing up. But
Matt, just before you move on, I feel like I've heard that from a lot of X-Men fans who have like been devoted to X-Men for years, and they're not interested in what's going on right now. Or I mean, it's weird to say right now because everything's paused, but what was going on right now?
Yeah. Right. And so I liked, but again, it's why I like DC, and when they play a big interconnected world, I like those guest issues, and I like that it feels like it doesn't all have to be in continuity, but just the fact that they could show up and it makes sense, and you're like, oh yeah, of course the young heroes, of course young Hawkeye would know young Wolverine. And the fact they're addressing each other as such, and they're both trying to live up to the legacy. It's something that is very Teen Titans-y, right? Like you could have Wally and Dick show up in each other's books at the time, back in the early 2000s, and be like, oh yeah, they've known each other forever. So, but yeah, I'll get through it. It's not like I have anything else starting to read, like as of the next couple of weeks. So, and if I keep my pace, I'll be done with that run as quickly as I was done with Hawkeye.
At the amount you've read over the last few weeks, you'll be done by the time we record next week.
Maybe if it keeps up, Although I don't like to start something, especially when I have them. Like I don't want to stop and start again. You know what I mean? Like I did that with Souls Vader, and it messed me up a little bit, because I forgot some of the stuff that had happened in trying to place it. So, yeah.
All right, we'll move on then. We'll move on to movies. I thought it was better to talk about this week. I slowed down a little bit. I played a lot of video games this week, but I do have a couple to talk about. So I'll start off with one. I watched a classic I wanted to watch, because I've been watching so much like trash. Like on show, I've been watching these weird unknown B movies from the 80s and 90s. That I was like, no, I'm going to cross something off one of the lists, because I've tried to pick away at the 1001 movies to see before you die and whatever else. And I thought, you know what, Matt mentioned Rio Bravo to me recently, and it reminded me that Assault on Precinct 13 was loosely inspired by it. So I go into this movie going, okay, you know what, I've never really been drawn to John Wayne movies, but you know, I've never tried one either, so maybe I'll like it. And you know, if it's going to be the Siege movie as the movie goes on, maybe I'll get really into that. This movie was boring as shit. Rio Bravo is 2 hours and 20 minutes long and somehow has less going on than movies that are like half its length.
And what kills me is they kept remaking it, because I looked it up when you talked about you were watching it, and I was like, it can't be that bad. And then I saw the runtime. I was like, oh man. So that runtime's going to seem even longer when it's not much is going on. When you compare it to Assault on Precinct 13, which is it's relatively short, right?
Yeah,
like
it was
it's
90,
around 90 minutes.
90, maybe 100, maybe 100 minutes a push.
Right. But then they kept remaking Rio Bravo under different names. Like I think Rio Lobo.
And honestly, Matt, like I mean, I get how it was kind of inspired, but it's not like like it isn't that much of a Siege movie. It's not even like Assault on Precinct 13 is so far removed from it that I like it's. Yeah. Like okay, I get that Carpenter maybe likes the movie and said okay, like the idea of like someone coming for someone who's in a jail cell, sure, but the movie doesn't actually play out like a Siege at all. It's more long and drawn out, and it's involving the whole town and all the rest of it. It's not like Assault on Precinct 13 is like no, they're in a building and there's an army coming for them, and that is the whole movie, and it's a freaking great movie at that. People should watch Assault on Precinct 13, the original.
Yes,
but.
Pete made me watch it on a show that we used to do, and it was the one Carpenter that kept escaping me, and it's very, very good.
Yeah, but Rio Bravo, John Wayne, I think is a really bland actor. He feels like this old dude.
He's a presence more than an actor.
I don't even think he's a presence though. I feel like there's like tons of other actors that I would happily. And I think the reason why I was kind of hopeful for this is because I'd watched the original T-Tata Human the last like month, and I was really surprised by how good that was. And this was nothing compared to it. I was. Like I was losing track of what was really going on, the character dynamics. It was basically John Wayne and his deputy's kind of Dean Martin, who's this sort of got a drinking problem. It's kind of like if Connor wasn't a ginger and was in the Old West, but like I just like it takes so long getting to where it's going. It's like okay, so they've got this guy that these other people are going to come and try it free. And it feels like, okay, set up the movie there, let's spend like an hour doing the Siege, and instead it spends like 2 hours of like just it feels like a movie that like just wanted to fill scenes of dialogue and just have more dialogue for the actors to say, because we've got these stars, so they have to keep talking because that's acting, is talking, and it's just nothing but talking that has no momentum, doesn't build to anything, isn't engaging. It's honestly, it's like it looks better because it's it's shot in film and it's like a fairly big budget presentation from 1959, but it's almost kind of like the Hollywood version of what a CW show is in a lot of ways, where it's just talking for the sake of talking to extend things out. Maybe that's and I'm sure it's got its fans, but I was bored to tears during Rio Bravo. I really I would not recommend it. I mean, I'm glad I crossed it off the list because I do intend to try and see a lot of classics and try them. Right. But now everything else with John Wayne in it, I'm not looking forward to. Except maybe High Noon, just purely because he basically did a 180 on that movie, and like what was it that David told me? He was looking up trivia while we were watching it. He said that like he actually ran the writer out of Hollywood because it was such an un-American movie.
So I was just reading because I brought up the Rio Bravo wiki page, and that's on here, is that High Noon can be thought of as an allegory for blacklisting and a critique of McCarthyism, right? And so John Wayne ran him out. The writer's name is Carl Foreman. Said he did not regret helping run the writer out of the country. So I'm like, wow, dude, so you are an a-hole.
Yeah.
Like, all of those stories are coming through.
He sounds like a complete prick. And it's not even like he's entertaining on screen to make up for it. Like he's...
There was a You Must Remember This about during the blacklisting era, and it's all about John Wayne. And I had forgotten a lot of this until just now. And it's basically him him criticizing actors that wouldn't sign up to go to war, right, during World War II, yet he himself wouldn't sign up either. So, which there's a lot of parallels of stuff going on now. And it's a bit comforting to think like, oh no, people would just have always been like this. It doesn't matter the era. Like, there's no mystique. Is at the end of the day, people are terrible. So, but it just seems like John Wayne, who is this quintessential American that people put up on a, on a pedestal, shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
So I'm also looking in that it was remade twice within 10 years. So that's another thing that we talk about nowadays, that there's so many remakes. Think about all the Spider-Man movies. Rio Bravo was remade first in 66 and then again in 70. Right? It came out in 59. So that's 3 versions of it within 10 years.
I mean, admittedly, I think then that's more the exception than the rule. But I mean, I'm intrigued as to why they felt the need to remake it. That's soon after the original, and then
maybe to make it better.
I mean, maybe.
And both of them were directed by the same director.
But
it's both star John Wayne.
But it's considered a classic, though. It's not. I mean, as much as I hated it, it was considered something good at the time.
Yeah.
And but no, I was not into it at all. Anyway, Matt, you get any movies you want to?
Yeah, so I forgot that I watched a movie because it was that forgettable, and it was something I was looking forward to. I like Kumail Nanjiani, and I really like Dave Bautista, so I was looking forward to Stuber last summer, and then it came and went so fast, and now I understand why. Because it is, despite having parts that are legit funny based off of the charisma between the two actors, the movie is not good. Like, it's amazing that how bad that movie is, despite how good the two actors are in it. Yeah, I don't have much else to say. Betty Gilpin's in it. I hate her character, and I hate the way that Kumail acts towards her.
She's popping up in everything right now. She was in 2 movies.
She's getting work.
She was in 2 movies we did in streams back to back. She was in The Grudge 2020 from earlier this year, and she was in The Hunt. So we did those back to back. Oh, wait, she's just popping up everywhere now.
Yep, and she's in Stuber. She plays Kumail's best friend, who he has, of course, the hots for, and they hooked up one time, and so he basically bends over backwards and has zero self-respect. So of course Batista's got to teach him that. But no, Batista just keeps, like, he is fitting the Schwarzenegger role where Schwarzenegger would make these comedies, and just they would rely on his natural, charisma. I feel like Schwarzenegger had more pull, right? Because he's Schwarzenegger. Yeah, because there was another movie with Batista coming out that got pushed, that was with him and I think a little girl, where he has to help her.
I thought that came out.
Did it?
I thought it just about snuck out, but maybe I'm wrong. I know the one you're on about.
I'm not sure.
He's the really bad, like, FBI agent or whatever. Spy. I don't know what agency he was or whatever. I know the one you're on about. I thought that just about came out, and I just didn't bother going to see it because I saw a trailer for it and went, I'm good. But I could be wrong.
Well, that's another one that after this came and went, I was like, well, I don't have to rush out. You know what I mean? Like, I can wait for them to come to me. It was called My Spy. Yeah.
My Spy. Did it come out?
Let's see. I'm gonna click on it.
It's telling me it came out on the 13th of March.
It did, but that was right in the middle of all of this. Yeah, so but yeah, so I can't recommend Stuber whatsoever. Like, it's bad. And if I'm saying it's bad, we all know how I grade comics, right? Like, I have a very low bar for being entertained. It was, oh man, I wanted so much more. So I'm also looking forward to the Kumail movie that's coming out with him and the girl from Insecure. I always forget her name. But it was supposed to come out, and then it got pushed to Netflix. It's supposed to come out at the end of May now. Oh, God. So they get caught up in a date thing. I'm going to have to look up Kumail.
Not familiar with this one off the top of my head.
So. Yeah, hold on. I'll find it. Where's it at? It's called The Lovebirds, and it got pushed to Netflix. Yeah.
That was one of the first things that they called to delay as well. Like, they went, screw it, we'll just delay that.
Yep. May 22nd. So it comes at the end of May. And I'm looking forward to that. It's Issa Rae and Kumail Nanjiani. That's her name. And that looks pretty funny. And it's on Netflix, so why not?
Car, you get any?
I've got at least one. Letterboxd is down, so I can't remember if there are any others. The only one I know I watched was Pompoko, which is the next of the Studio Ghibli movies that I'm working through. This is the one about shape-shifting raccoons.
What?
Yeah, there's a raccoon society, and they can shapeshift into pretty much anything, but they shapeshift into people, so they can go and like buy shitty food. Like essentially, what there is, Matt, it's a raccoon that shapeshifts into you, so we can go and buy Taco Bell. That's essentially what they are.
I need to sue them for stealing my life story. Because when I'm not on screen, I become a raccoon.
Yeah,
I didn't know if you guys know that.
Exactly. Yeah, but the movie it's about property development. Using up all the green space of the environment so they can build houses and stuff, and it's stealing the raccoons' homes and such. It's pretty solid. It's very funny, which is it gets through a lot of the movie. Is this comedy angle of it? It's very kind of a hijinksy is kind of the word I'd use. I think. Yeah, it's not my favorite Ghibli, but it's pretty enjoyable. I think Matt would enjoy it.
I'm reading, and they said that prominent scrotums are also an integral part of Tanuki folklore, and they are shown and referred to throughout the film. Also used frequently in their shapeshifting. And I was not expecting that sentence to be something that I'm reading.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. They're like warrior raccoons, and they transform into people, and it's a whole thing. They got a whole society that's like the first 20 minutes of the movie is just the raccoon society, and I'm so in for this.
Yeah. So last night we had Taco Bell because they put out a new taco that's it's Flamin' Hot Doritos.
Now they choose to release a new taco.
Yeah, right. And I don't like Flamin' Hot brand, but my friend really loves it. And she's constantly going and buying the Flamin' Hot Cheetos to add to whatever food that we get. And she's as much as raccoon, but she didn't want to admit it, right? And so last night, as she's saying that she really loved that and wanted another taco right away, I go, you become a raccoon. Here's your. If I could have gifted her a mask and a tail, I would have.
Also known as trash pandas.
Yes, trash pandas, and it's not better.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So after Rio Bravo, same night, I ended up with a really perfect companion piece in the sense that I watched a Jim Jarmusch film, like one of his earliest successes, Stranger Than Paradise. And this was like an indie, black and white, really low budget. And I think the reason why it was an interesting companion piece is because John Wayne was, Rio Bravo was this, big budget movie with like all these big actors, all these fancy sets, and it was like just nothing but talking for 2 hours, 20 minutes, and it felt like nothing was going on. This was a movie, alternatively, Stranger Than Paradise, where there's shots, a lot of it's set in these just simple little apartments that are really drab, which is kind of the point. It's kind of plays at the theme of the movie, which is that this guy's sort of distant cousin that he's never met is coming from Romania to visit, and he because some auntie's get at the hospital, he has to keep her at his place, and so he's just kind of, it's this burden to him, but it's just kind of her hanging out at his place. There's literally some scenes where they'll just be sitting watching TV, and despite the fact that they're sitting watching TV in silence in black and white, the shot is telling me so much more than entire scenes of Rio Bravo were telling me. It was giving me these little subtle details of okay, this is what she thinks of the country, it's what she thinks of him, it's how he's denying kind of his past and the fact that he pretends he's just a complete American, and he almost prides himself on eating TV dinners and stuff like that, and she's kind of miserable because everything's drab and nothing's exciting, and it becomes this kind of a road trip movie ultimately. There's kind of a hint that he's kind of attracted to her at one point, so there's kind of is it going to turn into what was the joke from Arrested Development? I can't remember, the Lee Cousins thing. But it becomes this weird thing, and his friends kind of into her as well. But it's just one of these indie little dramas. It's got a bit of humor in there. There's definitely a bit of comedy, but it's very kind of subdued comedy. Very, very confident though. But it was really engaging. It was like 90 or so minutes, and despite the fact that, like, on paper you write down, okay, one movie's about a siege and there's a prisoner and there's gangs coming to get him, it sounds like it's going to be action packed, and it's really dull. And then the other one, it sounds like it's two people in an apartment and then eventually on a road trip, and they're making really just random observations and nothing's really going on. But that movie has way more going on, and it feels like every scene's actually telling me a story about these characters, and I'm starting to think about the themes, and I'm starting to think about what the movie's really about. I don't know, it was really good. So that was pretty solid.
It's good. I've only ever seen one Jarmusch movie, and that was Ghost Dog, which we watched in a literature class, weirdly.
I haven't seen that one. I've seen 3 now. I'm 2 for 3. I like this one. I like Broken Flowers. I wasn't so hot on Mystery Train, but I'm 2 for 3. I ain't bad.
Mystery Train sounds like a fun romp, and knowing Jarmusch, it's probably not, but just based off of the title.
Mm-hmm. So that was, I think that's all I really watched this week that wasn't for review, unless I'm missing something, but I don't think I am. So what else you got, Matt?
So that was it. I mean, I watched another surf doc, but it's not really worth talking about. But I did catch up on TV, and I'll make it quick because I don't want to spoil for Connor. But Clone Wars Season 7, now on Disney Plus.
I hear the last episode is one of the best of the show.
Easy. It has, and this is not a spoiler, but there's a duel between Maul and Ahsoka.
Sure.
That is my favorite duel of all time.
Does it top the Maul Kenobi?
It's different. It's what I wanted Maul Kenobi to be.
It's what the expectation of what that duel was. Versus, yes. and then that was the start. Reality was.
I talked to Alden.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, so Alden, who's my resident Star Wars. If Connor doesn't know something Star Wars, I'll go to Alden. Right? That's like his primary fandom. So I was talking to him about this because he kept telling me you need to get caught up because he knows I love Ahsoka. Right? She's probably my second favorite Star Wars character, and whatnot.
I get it.
So I got caught up. The first arc is the Bad Batch, which I already had seen in previs at Celebration, and it was good. Although this one, there's certain stuff I don't remember. Like I don't remember Wrecker being that much of a head injury victim, I guess, because he was really strong and he was a bit duller than the rest of them. But they had chalked that up to, well, a lot of it went to his muscles and not to his head. And on this one, he was basically Hulk, not understanding why things go explode or whatever, and that was a bit of a disappointment. The second arc is Ahsoka heavy, and it's okay. It doesn't feel like Clone Wars. It feels more like Rebels because it takes time away from what Clone Wars was, but it sets the stage for the first 2 episodes of the last arc that sets up, which is going on right as Revenge of the Sith is starting.
And this is the Siege of Mandalore stuff.
Kinda, yeah. That's in there. They deal with Mandalore.
I know that was supposed to be in this final season.
Yep. So they go there, and if you remember, Maul, where we left off in Clone Wars, Maul was in charge there.
Yep.
And they send a group. They need Ahsoka, because she brings information that she had learned in the previous arc. So that's where I say it feels more like Rebels, is where Clone Wars arcs never felt like they were part of a greater narrative, right? They were just, these are arcs that were together. It was very episodic, almost anthology based.
3 to 6 episode arcs, and there would be sequel arcs and connections, but it was never like,
Well, yeah, the whole Rookies arc, right? And that's where Bad Batch plays as a epilogue to that. With
is Rookies the one with 99?
Clone Force 99 is Bad Batch.
No. 99er is in the really old, decrepit clone.
That's he's the one that teaches them that they're all, because it starts with ARC troopers and then they become the Rookies, then they get put onto that asteroid, and that's where you have Echo 5s and all of them.
That's kind of where they become their own kind of crew.
And over the course of the series, you see them, like in a war movie, whittle away until there's only X amount left, and then there's Rex. And Rex bears the weight of this, as a commander and whatnot. So Bad Batch plays on at the end of that, right? As an epilogue to the stuff that happened with the clones. but then it gets into this stuff, and then just when you can, Connor, when you can get caught up, it's easily.
I think we're still a couple episodes behind.
Yeah.
Because
I was waiting for it all to finish, and then I was told that it's going to finish by May the 4th, which of course, Star Wars holiday.
Yeah, and they're dropping that new Mandalorian behind the scenes doc, which looks fantastic.
Yeah. So Star Wars belongs on TV, I think, more than anywhere right now.
Hands down. Star Wars
Dave
belongs
Filoni,
with Filoni in charge, is what we're saying.
Yes, it is. Filoni. So just real quick, I know Pete's bored by all this, but I didn't like the Kenobi Maul fight because I wanted to be this big epic stuff. Give me a second. And then what it ended up being was a samurai duel, right? That it's over in the blink of an eye. And Alden sent me a video of Sam Witwer. Basically, I don't know if you've seen this, doing a play-by-play of what's going on.
Oh, is it all talking about the foot movements and stuff? Because there's so much going on in the small little animated details in that sequence.
And I had warmed up to it over time because it was this big, like, oh, it's Maul, Kenobi, this is it, right?
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, well, it's over, right? It's like when you go into overtime in a sport and it's over like that, you're like, wait, no, that's not how that was supposed to go. I wanted more of this. But I had warmed up to it once you're like, oh, it's a traditional samurai battle, so of course, but then the stuff that Whitwer brought into it, it jumped to up in the top 5. And the more I think about it, the more it's crawling up.
I know they had great art for the motion capture for this one, and I'm like, that has me excited because
he moves like Ray Park. Like if you have seen those, so and I'm just trying to put all the stuff in order because I just finished Rebels, so there's all of that, right, and the stuff with Mandalore there, and then you have the stuff that shows up in Solo, and that takes place.
You've got the allusions to what's going on with Mandalore in the Mandalorian,
right? And that's in the thing that Ahsoka might be showing up. We got word that she was cast, but now they're playing coy.
Yeah, we heard it was Rosario Dawson, but then she's kind of not confirming it, even though it's been shot. So
yeah, and there's I guess episode titles leaked, and there's one called The Sorcerer. So who knows? But that makes it sound like there is going to be a Jedi of some kind showing up, even though you can't really call Ahsoka a Jedi at this point. She's just a force wielding.
Yeah, she left that behind.
Yeah, so but yeah, it's easily that hour because they're both about 30 minutes. Probably the best thing I watched all week.
I'll get to
those 2 episodes of Clone Wars. So yeah. But we're not done with Star Wars. So wait till we get to games.
Oh boy. Will ever end. I hate Star Wars so
My
much.
wife looked at me and goes, what happened? Why are you suddenly back in love with Star Wars? I'm like, I don't know what just happened. Like just this week, I decided, hey, I'm going to do some Star Wars stuff.
They announced a new audiobook thing for Star Wars. So I say audiobook. It's more of a full cast drama.
You start talking about audiobook.
No. I'm telling Matt about this because he doesn't know yet. Because they did one like a year ago or so about Ventress.
Okay.
Ventress and Dooku and stuff, and that was pretty solid.
Mm-hmm.
And this one they're doing Afra. It's essentially Afra's first introduction in Gillen's Vader run.
Yeah, that drove me off the character.
But all from Afra's perspective with who Afra is as we kind of know her now and expanded upon. And they're doing it as like a full cast audio drama. It's coming out in like July.
I'll have to check that out.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not going to go pick up books like other people, although that said, I kind of want the Ahsoka book now, just because...
The Ahsoka book's really good.
Yeah, and I was telling him that after this, one of my main things is from going stir crazy, I'm going to go get some new tattoos, and now, from what I thought I wanted, I think I'm going to get a Fulcrum logo, which I realized is Ahsoka's head crest.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice.
Because it goes Han, and then I think right below Han is Ahsoka, but Ahsoka's making a push.
Ahsoka is absolutely the character that the fandom has turned around on the most from that first introduction to being universally despised. Like I was at Jar Jar levels.
Yeah, that first Clone Wars movie I was so good, but over the time watching Clone Wars, I at first, so this is my thing with her. I hated the way she held her second lightsaber, the backhanded grip, and then I saw it in action, and especially in this duel, it's like, oh, that's why Filoni put that there.
Yeah, yeah,
It's her fighting style. So, yeah, she is Filoni's best creation by far.
without a doubt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, the way that the fandom came around on her is staggering. Like,
Yeah.
to the point where she is one of the most beloved characters now, like universally.
Yeah.
Like at the start was Jar Jar levels of hated.
Yeah, I cannot find her Black Series figure. Like I've looked.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yep, and now I looked and the cheapest I can find is $80, which yeah, so that'll be a miss. But yeah, hooey. So games, Pete. What you been playing all week?
New seconds. Oh,
Yeah, we'll let you move on now.
oh, that's nice.
Temporarily.
That's nice. Let's see. I've been playing more Final Fantasy 7. I won't really say much about that.
Yeah, we spoke about that quite a lot last week. I think
Yeah.
I did finish it over the week. I won't say too much because, spoilers, things to talk about. I think maybe when Pete's done with it in a few weeks, we'll do a bit of a discussion about the game as a whole.
Yeah. But no, it's not there. It's just, although it's starting to get a lot more challenging because it was kind of easy for the first, like, say, 10 or so hours, and just in the last few, it's been
10 or so hours.
You have got what? Are you still in chapter 8? Or are you on chapter 9 yet?
I just finished all the side quests of chapter 8, but
Okay. The end of chapter 9 has a bitch of a boss fight.
Okay, interesting. But it's definitely got a little more challenging where I'm like, I'm actually failing sometimes and having to retry and actually strategize a bit more. Whereas earlier on, it was just kind of a case of, I can spam whatever I want and just...
You can brute force your way through most things early on, yeah.
So that's that. But the new game that launched just yesterday that I was playing last night, and the reason why I didn't get a lot of sleep, is XCOM Chimera Squad, which is the spin-off game that is set after XCOM 2. It's not XCOM 3, because it is a sort of different style of play. I mean, the core idea of XCOM and the turns is there, but instead of having your whole squad take a turn so you can switch between them and strategize, it does more of a classical turn-based system where you have an order of play so that your characters have to go in a certain order, and that's actually mixed in with the enemies, so some enemies get to go before some of your characters, but it's done from a sort of it's set 5 years after XCOM 2, where after you've defeated the aliens. And just in case you didn't know, a lot of the aliens in XCOM were kind of assimilated by this greater alien threat. So it's not like each of these alien species you were fighting were evil at their core. There's
a lot of mind control going on.
But basically, in this future now, aliens are living with humans. There's a lot of tension because we're supposed to be at peace, but obviously not everyone loves that they've been integrated. And you're part of this squad that's a mixture of humans and aliens that are kind of like a backup to the police to go and do missions. And it's kind of like you're breaching buildings with like evil organizations in them, and but through XCOM style gameplay. But there's like a new breach phase and all that. Your map, instead of being the entire planet, is just the city. You're trying to keep each district from going into anarchy, from the population becoming
So this is like the real world right now.
Yeah. So
it's practice, Pete.
Yeah, good practice. And unlike regular XCOM, instead of having like random characters or custom characters that you've made and can name and all that, you have a set of defined characters who have names, who have backstories. And you can tell it's a slightly lower budget game, and it does cost much less. It's only a $20 game even at full price, but they're actually doing it at half off for the first couple of weeks, so you can get it for $10 right now. But like, and you can see what the budget's a bit lower. On the one hand, you've reused some assets from XCOM 2, and the other hand, instead of having full like CGI or in-engine cutscenes, you have sort of the static cartoon style graphics come up with text. There's a voice acting still, but there's no actual cutscenes for the most part. But honestly, it works for the style of game. And I will say this, I actually think the story is probably more engaging because it's actually got characters who are, some of the characters are aliens who are worried about how they're being perceived. There's a lot of jokes flying around. Some of them have a personality, which is something that regular XCOM doesn't really have because it is all custom characters and you're just kind of doing whatever. But I mean, honestly, the premise of aliens and humans living together and the scale being sort of down a little bit into just a city. I actually would be cool if that was kind of part of the basis for XCOM 3. The one thing that I wouldn't want to go into XCOM 3, even though I'm kind of enjoying it as a different thing in this side game, is the turn order, because I think one of the things you don't get to do in regular XCOM, you get to like, okay, all 4 to 6 of my team, I get to like bounce around them and sort of arrange them all together to form a sort of plan. In this game, because each person only goes one by one, a lot of the synergies between them you can't necessarily capitalize on because of the way the turn order works. Some you can, some you can't. It's a nice experiment though to do something different, and I wouldn't be opposed to this again. Like if we get XCOM 3 proper and then we get like a sequel to this after XCOM 3, I would totally play it. So it's something different, and honestly for $10, like if you like XCOM, yeah, try it. Why not?
I say what are you waiting for? Personally, I'm waiting till payday on Monday, and then I'm buying it myself. That is it. Like, I've already decided, because it's only $10 till I think May 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So you only got till the end of the month. So it's like, well, I know I'm going to want this at some point, and I'm going to play it at some point.
It's a little bit dirty. Now, I don't necessarily blame them for this, but all this does feel a little bit dirty, because this is coming out around the same time as Gears Tactics. And we didn't know about this. They basically shadow dropped this by announcing it like a few weeks before it came out.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, not only have they got a game coming out to compete with Gears Tactics, they're putting it out at half off to encourage everyone to go and play it. And given if you're an XCOM, because if you're an XCOM fan, you might have been tempted by Gears Tactics. Oh, there's another Tactics game coming out. Maybe I'll try it since it looks like Gears of War but XCOM.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years since XCOM 2 came out now, and maybe you want to try something
and don't get
a
me
little
wrong,
bit different.
I'll probably try Gears Tactics eventually because it's on Game Pass, so I can get to it fairly cheaply. But as soon as this was announced, I was like, no, I'm playing XCOM that day. There's an XCOM game coming out. What?
So what's Gears of War?
So regular Gears of War is not a game like XCOM at all. Regular Gears of War is a third-person shooter where you're third person, you're taking cover, you're shooting aliens. Gears Tactics is a spin-off game where they've done it in like an XCOM style, where it's turn-based squads instead.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
well, I was watching a thing on voice actors, and the guy that does Bender, Joe DiMaggio, plays a character in Gears of War.
That doesn't surprise me. He plays a character in basically everything.
Well, he's one of the best. There's if you're a nerd about voice acting stuff,
he's up there. Yeah.
There's like 10 living legends right now that do just about everything, and he's one of them. Weirdly, like. Because I always just thought his voice was Bender, and it's not. He said Bender puts a lot on his voice, so when he can play other characters, like the guy in Gears of War, it's a relief. Although that guy in Gears of War, it's super gravelly, which then it puts strain on his voice. So he's like, it's a no-win scenario.
I think DC related. I think he was Joker in the Dark Knight Returns animated film.
He's also been Joker in what was the Batman. Which not the Diedrich Bader one, but there's another one in between. But he was a Joker in one of those.
Is that the one that had Katana in it as like a main character?
I believe so.
That show was it was a really kind of like rough looking animation. People thought it was better than you would expect.
Oh.
But that's why I had to ask about Gears of War, because it's a game I've heard it. But I don't know anyone that
Gears of War
plays it.
It's one of those big Xbox franchises. It's kind of one of their staples. It's up there with Halo for them.
Gotcha. Those are games I don't enjoy.
That's fair. I mean, I played the first two. It's fine. It kind of lacks. I don't want to say it lacks personality, but I don't think I particularly like the personality it has. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that said, though, it's the only one out of the 3 Xbox franchises, which is Gears, Halo, and Forza. It's the only one that I've actually beaten a couple of the games of. So
that's because you're a terrible person and need to play more Halo. Halo is so good.
Maybe someday. I don't know.
Oh wow! Real quick, and the original Clone Wars, the mini series, Joe DiMaggio played General Grievous as well. Connor,
doesn't surprise me. Honestly, you can tell me he's in pretty much any animated TV show I've ever seen, and he played a major character I didn't know about, and I'll go, yeah, sure, sounds about right. Him or D. Bradley Baker.
D. Bradley Baker, and then James Arnold Taylor's another one.
Yep.
That when they show up there, yeah.
Yeah, I've never heard any of these people.
No.
So
you've heard their voices though, guaranteed.
I probably have, but I don't know their names. So Yeah, but XCOM Computer Squad's a solid. I mean, I was playing it for like 5 hours last night, and it was good.
Wow.
It was good. So, I'll be back to that. But yeah, just that and more Final Fantasy VII Remake. Yeah, but I did just build my new PC yesterday, and I've not put, I mean, it's still the same graphics card, but I will say I was doing some tests, and it does seem like it has benefited. Like, I think my RAM was maybe bottlenecking some games before, so I think like having much, not only more RAM, but much faster RAM, and a much
Makes a
faster
difference.
processor, definitely is upped things even before I get other stuff. So I'm going to get a new monitor first. Before I do a graphics card, because my thing is that by the time I can afford the graphics card, if they've announced the 3000 series by then, I might be like more tempted to wait for the new ones, but then I might not. I might just say screw and get a 2070 Super, which is what I've got my eye on just now. But either way, yeah, I'm in a gaming mood. Maybe that's partly because I'm getting new hardware, but it's also I've had between Resident Evil 3, Final Fantasy, and now XCOM, which came out of nowhere. I don't usually have so many new games back to back that I'm interested in, but that just seems to have happened recently.
I mean, just think, we would have been going right into Last of Us as well in like a week's time, or whatever it would have been.
Yeah, I was trying to tell my brother what Pete told me about that game.
Try to.
Yeah, because he doesn't listen. I love my brother, but when it comes to video games, because he knows I don't know things, I was like, he's like, oh, you just need to go buy Last of Us when it comes out. Or Last of Us 2. And I was like, I was under the impression they were just going to wait for 5 now. He's like, oh, no, they can't. They doesn't want to. And I was like, this goes against everything Pete had told me, and I trust Pete.
Yeah, well, there's nothing official that says they're going to wait for 5. As of right now, officially, it is still coming to the PlayStation 4.
Yeah, and technically they've always promised that. The reason why I think that it might go to 5 though, the one piece of evidence is the fact that not only did they delay it, they cancelled all the pre-orders and gave everyone their money back. And that feels like a weird thing to do if it's just going to be delayed for a few months.
And I suspect it'll still launch on PS4 at the same time. But what this does is it gives people the option to choose to buy it on PS5 instead without feeling like they've been double charged.
Yeah, and that's what I tried to explain to him, but he wasn't having any of it. And he's like, oh, I'm still getting mine for the PlayStation 4. I was like, all right, I know you're very passionate about this game.
Yeah, but I think anyone who isn't planning on getting a PS5 at launch... but really wants to, has a PS4 and really wants to play Last of Us 2, I like 99% sure that they will still be able to play it on the same day as anyone who has it on PS5.
Yeah. That said, though, even if it's out on PS4 on the same day, I will still get a PS5 to play Last of Us 2 because I want to play the best version of Last of Us 2.
This is actually what I was saying a couple of months ago, where when it was supposed to be coming out like this week, where I was like, I don't know if I want to play it.
But I wouldn't have waited to do it though. But if they're out on the same day and the choice is either buy a PS5 and play the better version, I'll get the PS5 and play the better version.
Like I was already at that point of maybe I just wait because I'm on a base PS4, not a PS4 Pro. And I'm like, oh, maybe I just wait and get the PS5 and play it on there and get the better experience. Now it's kind of pretty much decided for me.
Without spoilers, why is this game so beloved? Is it the story?
Story's phenomenal.
It's the writing and the characters, the acting. It's some of the best in any video game.
And I love the gameplay. I think the scavenging and the stealth horror gameplay.
He knows I don't like that type of stuff. So what because I know you've been pushing me to play it.
I still think, Matt, even the gameplay. It's if you're not a big fan of the gameplay, turn the difficulty down, whatever, because that's not the showpiece of the game. Like the gameplay is fine, it's good enough, it's enjoyable enough, right? It's not bad enough to distract me or anything, but it is the writing and the acting that is the star of the show there.
As I tell other people, keep in mind you're talking to a barbarian. All right, like yes, I'm civilized when it comes to things, but when it comes to characters I like to play as, it's Indiana Jones, right? I'm gonna make it up as I go along, and I'm gonna smash my way out of things. When you start adding finesse to certain things, I get frustrated very easily, and then it's no longer fun. So Spider-Man was great because it balanced those things, right? Like there was missions where you had to finesse and be crafty, but then there's other things where I could just go and hit buttons and beat up guys.
There's not a whole lot around after this.
Yeah, and so that's where I try to talk to like again, it makes me seem like I don't trust my brother when I do, but I trust Pete a little bit more. right? Because
Yeah.
Uh,
So I was saying to play God of War, Matt. Plenty of smashing up people.
That's next. I'm gonna 100% Fallen Order. I gotta go back and do some exploration. When I get bored of that's ready to go. It's already downloaded from the store, so
Cool.
ready to go.
Cool.
But yeah,
yeah. So I mean, that said, though, they're talking about the PS5 having limited availability this year for obvious reasons. So my big concern now is that it's going to Last of Us 2 will be on PS5 day one with PS4, but I just won't be able to get a PS5, and I'm going to be annoyed that I have to play the PS4 version just because I can't get it.
I will be putting in my pre-order for a PS5 the day they're announced.
I probably will too, just for the sake of try to guarantee a slot for it.
Yeah.
And the reason, part of the reason why I'm tempted to still get the graphics card early, even though I could wait and get a better one later in the year potentially, is one, I'm still concerned that those will be limited and hard to get when they come out, because they usually are at first, and because of what's going on this year, even more so. But also, I really want the new graphics card before Cyberpunk. Like, I really want to have a beefed up card for that.
Cyberpunk still comes out in September.
They've insisted multiple times, based on what's going on, that they're just polishing from home now.
Yeah.
And
the thing that maybe will dampen that's happened in the last 2 days since they made this statement is that the Polish distributor for their games, which obviously they're a Polish company, so this is their home turf. The Polish distributor went into administration.
I think what works in favour versus something like The Last of Us, because the reason for that was we can't print the discs and blah blah. I think CD Projekt Red, I think, will happily lead into just doing digital if that's the only option at first, if that's the way they're going to go. Because they're primarily a PC developer, right? So which is all digital basically anyway, outside of collector's editions. And while they do get a lot of revenue from the consoles, I think they would be happy to just, hey, it's out in digital.
It's harder in a post Witcher 3 world. Before Witcher 3, absolutely. I think no questions asked. I think Witcher 3 gave them popularity to a new heights that they might have to reconsider when it comes to it.
Joe, I think it's big enough that I think this is a game that you can do this with, and it will encourage people who would never have bought it physically. Or would have bought it physically but never bought digital. Not because they can't, because their internet's not good enough or whatever, just because they always buy physical because they're just set in their ways. I think this is a game that's big enough to sway people because they just want to play Cyberpunk. And actually, one of the great points I heard this week about Cyberpunk actually is that I really agree with this, is that I love that it's being promoted purely as its own thing. It's not like the start of a franchise. I mean, it could have sequels, don't get me wrong. It's not like it's definitely never having anything else, but it doesn't feel like it's being promoted as part of a chain of things where there's going to be tie-in things left and right. It's part of a cinematic universe, or it's part of this, or it's part of that. So no, we're making a video game that is single player, it's standalone, it has a beginning, middle, and end. There will be expansions, sure, but it's
honestly, I think there's in games in the last year or so, there's quite a good few examples of this cropping up. More than there was in the 4 or 5 years beforehand. I felt we were kind of getting away from that, and then in the last year or so, I'm like, no, there's good games being made.
There's definitely more. I think what I mean by this is that not only does it exist, it's also it's been treated like the biggest thing. It's been treated like, because so often they treat the sequels and the potential reboots as the big things to promote and put all the money behind. And I think I love that, between CD Projekt Red and I guess Microsoft are also backing them a lot. No, we're going to treat this like the big landmark shift. And, Witcher 3 sold a lot of graphics cards for PCs, and I feel like, even I'm talking about it, but I feel like Cyberpunk's going to do the same again, where if you've not already upgraded to a reasonably modern card, you're probably tempted, because Cyberpunk's going to push it further than it's ever been pushed. So it's super exciting. And I'm going to 1440p, so I need a bit of extra power. So cool.
I get that feeling because my screen's 4K, but obviously I can't. My card can't run most games at 4K. A couple of older things with patches, sure, but I tend to have to put the output resolution as 4K and then scale down.
I think. I'm going with 1440p because I'm going with the high refresh rate. I think there's a sweet spot there where you can get a lot of frames.
This was not I moved in the old TV from the front room and that happened to be 4K.
All right, cool, yeah. No, I'll be honest though, buying a computer monitor is a pain because like there's like 3 different technologies and all of them have a caveat, and it's like, oh, which one's going to annoy me more, so I can avoid that one, and it's just I hate it. Anyway, Matt's now bored. I'm going tech talk on him.
Yep.
Switch back over to actual games.
You guys can talk. Yeah, you guys can talk about whatever. I'm looking up hockey merchandise right now, so we're good.
Of course.
I miss hockey so much.
No. Also, and the reason why I'm getting a monitor before a car, just to wrap this up, is because I'm already annoyed having the new PC functioning. I'm already annoyed at only having 2 screens between them. Like I need at least a third one. So
yeah, that would infuriate me. I use 2 screens on a daily basis for my one system.
Yeah. So I need one. So obviously the new one will mainly be tied to the newer system, and they'll both share the TV. The old one will be tied to the old monitor, and I can dance around from there. But yeah, it also doesn't help that my old monitor only has 1 input at a time. You can't like switch over by the button.
Oh, that's infuriating.
Yeah. So is what it is. All right. What do I want to hear about first? Do I want to hear about Car talk about Yakuza 0, or do I want to hear Matt talk about Fallen Order?
Hey, I've got multiple games to talk about.
Multiple? Like, well, did you have time for more?
All I know, Pete, is real quick, is that the characters from New Japan show up in Yakuza 6, and someone on Reddit put together the storyline in order, and it's completely wild. It makes 0 sense in terms of these characters interacting. Like Naito is like a lieutenant of Okada, which just doesn't make sense because they're constant rivals. However, just the story of what it means, and they basically turn the stable chaos into a street game. It's completely wild.
That's pretty funny. So, I will say, I actually, before Cara starts talking about, because he's definitely played more than me now, but I did play a couple hours of Yakuza 0 when I got it on like really cheap, like 2 years ago, something like that. And it seems like an interesting game. There is something cool about playing a game that is completely like made for Japan. Like, it's all in Japanese. It's like watching a foreign movie, but I'm playing it instead. And usually that doesn't happen because usually they'll just translate it and it's fine because it's animated and whatever. But this is in Japanese with English subtitles, and you're just going to deal with it. But holy shit, there's a lot of talking. Like there's that of the 2 hours I played, like I would say like over half of it was just cutscenes of people talking.
I mean, I'll start with Yakuza 0. I'll talk about the other little bits after, because Yakuza 0 is the main event. Obviously, I would, from where we were last week, I finished off Final Fantasy on Monday. I think it took me about 5 or 6 days to finish that game in total. And then I shifted onto something else, which I'll get to, and I did a little break on that. Then I thought, okay.
Connor go through all these games so quickly and spending all this time playing games. It's reminding me of Adam Scott in Parks and Rec when he's made the little miniature movie. He's like, see what I've done? This is what I've done in my quarantine.
Would a depressed man make this?
Do you know what it is? This is the most time I've had to just play games in years. And like, I think for a long time, I've struggled to kind of play any sort of bigger games for a few years now, because of the time commitment that even a medium-sized game has, where like if I want to watch a movie, sure, it's 2.5 hours one night, that's fine. Whereas with a game, okay, it's 30 hours, that's a couple hours every night for like 2 weeks, sure. It's a lot harder to squeeze into my schedule around all the stuff that we do. So I've kind of been doing a lot less of it, which is frustrating. And now that I've got the time, it's like, well, I can. Like, I blasted 36 hours of Final Fantasy over 5 days. Because what else am I going to do? Like, I don't even feel guilty about it, because sure, I spent 6 hours a day on that. So what? Do you know what I mean? Like,
what else am I doing?
Exactly. I'm being a responsible citizen.
Yeah. I said I was going to start on my Friday the 13th idea that I've had brewing for a while now. And I sat down one day and spent about a good hour outlining certain things. I haven't gone back to it once because there's comics to read and other stuff to watch. And I feel guilty every time I do it. But I'm like, there's a saying that's going around right now that if you're having fun wasting time, then you're not actually wasting time. You know? So yeah.
So I wanted a new big game to jump into, and nothing was like jumping out at me. So I thought I'll see what's on Game Pass, and Yakuza Kiwami, which is a remake of the first one, just got added. And I thought, I wonder. And I had a quick Google, and people were suggesting maybe just start with 0, because even though it's a prequel that came out after 5, it's a really natural starting place for beginners at this point.
Yeah, also because I think it came out before Kiwami did, so even though technically it's a prequel, Kiwami, which is a remake of the first one, kind of incorporates what Zero added to the backstory or something like that. So
yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
So I thought, screw it, I'll start, because I checked on Game Pass and 0 was already there. I believe they're adding Kiwami 2 later in the year. So I thought, all right, fine, I'll do Yakuza 0. Why not? I kind of love it. I didn't expect to. It's all over the place in its tone in a way that shouldn't work, but it just does. It's, like I say, it's unashamedly Japanese to like the highest degree. You're a Yakuza member. The first thing you do in the game is beat up some thugs. The second thing you do is do a karaoke minigame. Like that's how the game starts.
Of course.
And I'm like, okay, I'm into this. There is a 17-ish minute cutscene at the start of chapter 3, because it's actually, there's 2 characters that you play as, and so it's like, and you play 2 chapters at a time of each character, and then it swaps over to the other one. So chapter 3 is the first introduction of your second main character, and I was probably about, I don't know, 6 hours into the game maybe at this point, and then I get slapped with a 17-minute cutscene, and I just was like, okay, I love this game. Like by the end of this cutscene, like this character, I'm like, okay, I'm all in. There is just so much to do, because it's like the main story is this very hard-boiled crime mafia story of like, full of twists and turns, and it's takes itself quite seriously in that angle. Mm-hmm. And then everything else you do is insane. Like at one point, I had to just go from place A to B as part of the main quest. Like, just hey, I had a drink at a bar with some guy. Can you go beat up some fella for me? He's on the other side of town. Sure, right. I'll go on my way to run there. On my way, I got stopped in like 4 random fights. Just attacked me on the street. Okay, I'll take them out. They'll give me money. Cool. I got pulled into multiple side quests, because you'll just be walking and you'll see. Sometimes they'll have like an icon above their head to tell you can talk to them to start it. Other times it will just give you a short scene and then be like, do you want to do the side quest now or not? So I always just say,
sure, why not?
But
yeah, of course.
To give you an idea of some of the side quests I've done, I have taught a wannabe punk band how to be punk, because this is set in the late 80s. This game, this is a band where they like the idea of punk music. They're not punk at all, but they just played it at a gig one night and accidentally kind of got a following for it. And they got in a bit too deep with their fans, and they got had to keep up the image, and their label was like, no, you got to keep the image going. And the way they were getting around it was just never doing any interviews or anything. They would just let the music speak for itself. But the label have now insisted they have to do an interview. Like it's gone on too long. They have to do it. And these guys, they're like the nicest guys ever. They like volunteer to go and help the elderly on their spare time and stuff like that. And they're like, we just don't know what we're doing. You've got to help us. You seem like a tough dude. Can you help us out? So then you have to coach them through responses of like, what should you say? Like when for these things, and like that's one of the side quests. One of them was teaching a dominatrix how to be a wannabe dominatrix how to be a dominatrix. Like you just stumble into these things, and I'm like, this is bizarre. I love it. And like, there's all sorts of side mini games you can waste your time on. You can sing karaoke. You can dance in the disco club. You can go bowling. You can play darts. You can play pool.
Well,
you can
there's there goes Connor's time.
Yeah, well,
they just introduced a real estate part of the game where you're as part of the plot you got to get into real estate, and it's like, okay, so you've done the bit for the plot.
How many games have you played where halfway through the game you get into real estate? That's halfway through the game.
Yeah, it's just like, do you want to do some real estate? Let's do some real estate. Here's a real estate management sim that you can do now and sink your time into.
Well,
and it's
here's the good news. Here's the good news: is that there's 6 more bloody things of these. Right, you get 6 of them more after this 0 game to play, and I think they're working on 3 and 4 being ported, or they have done already.
Everything's on PS4. There's a like a remastered set of 3, 4, and 5.
There you go. And
collection.
And I assume they're all coming to PC at some point.
I assume so, but everything is available on PS4. I think half of them are on the Xbox, give or take. But I'll play 0 and Kiwami 1 for sure on Game Pass because they're there. Kiwami 2 if it gets there in time. If not, I'll get it on PS4. But
Okay.
it's honestly the games are delightful. Like the tone, like I say, these things should not mesh with this hard-boiled detective crime, like mafia story.
What? Do you know what's so funny is that because like 1 and 2 were remade, but then 3, 4, and 5 are just remastered. When you get to 3, the graphic quality is going to like sort of jump back. It's going to jump back to like early PS3.
They're not like, because this game I think we didn't get it in the West till like 2017, 2018, but I think it actually came out as like a cross-gen title in 2015 in Japan. So it's kind of straddling the line already. Visually, it's not top of the pack. It's
I actually know something about this. Yakuza 6 was actually the new engine. So Zero was the previous engine. So Zero had the same engine as 5, which was a PS3 game. So it is kind of like an over sort of in the middle.
Kiwami, I assume, is on the new engine.
I think Kiwami's on the 6 engine, yeah. So, and I assume Kiwami 2 is as well.
I would have thought so, but I mean, like, it's not bad. The faces for regular main characters actually look really good, and that's really important given that a lot of it is there's a lot of talking in the story, right? And a lot of cutscenes. The acting's really good. Like, so this is actually really important for the faces. A lot of side characters don't look great, and there's a lot of stiff animation going on in general.
That sounds a lot like Final Fantasy 7, funnily enough.
It does, doesn't it? But it's really forgivable stuff in that sense. Like I don't mind it. It looks good enough.
I will say this is how much I'm enjoying Final Fantasy 7 so far. Maybe Chapter 9, as Conrad keeps telling me, is going to ruin it for me. But to the point where I'm like, this might look really good in PC in a year when it comes out. I'm like,
it's going to look great.
So I just pulled up Yakuza 0, and there's a says you can complete certain objectives such as eating every dish at a restaurant. And I was like, listen, I don't need the shade from you, Japan. If that's how I choose to live my normal life.
So yeah, basically, if you're low on health, you can drink a health drink that you can buy from the shop and take around with you, or you can pop into a local restaurant and eat some food. And the restaurants are scattered all over. Like there's all sorts that are just there, like different. Like there's a burger. There's one that's clearly Burger King. There's like noodle bars and all sorts. Just take your pick. What do you want? What's closest to you? It's wild. I don't know how like some of the side quests I've done. I don't know how they fit in a game alongside this really serious mafia story. It shouldn't, but it does it with a smile on its face, and it works, and it's delightful, and I kind of love it for that.
All right. Wrap up with your small bits so Matt can then talk about Star Wars again.
Much smaller. I played the rest of Modern Warfare 2 Remaster. I actually started the first couple of missions before Final Fantasy arrived, and then finished off like the last 2/3 of the game. Game really holds up. Again, I talked about the first Modern Warfare Remaster a little bit a couple of weeks ago, but this second one, I'd forgotten that like Lance Henriksen and Keith David voiced 2 of the main characters. So some good quality acting in there, like for sure. And I really love the story. You've got Soap, who's the character you played as in the first one. Well, one of the characters you played as in the first one. Because obviously you're jumping around like an SAS group, some sort of US military group. You're kind of jumping around divisions depending on which area of the story you're in. But if you're in the British group, Soap was who you played as in the last one. And then in this one, he's actually your captain now. And I'd forgotten how thick Scottish they made Soap as well. They gave him like a thick Scottish actor, because much like they did with. So in the last one, you played as Soap and your captain was Price, but there was that flashback mission with his Scottish captain. So obviously they just went, screw it, we'll make the captain Scottish again, even though you played as him for a while. But obviously he was mute when you were playing as him, and you play as a guy called Roach in this one. But the story's great. There's the Gulag mission in particular is fantastic. Great moment at the end of that mission, which I always love. That I kind of I'd forgotten. Like a lot of the beats were hazy on the story because it'd been close to a decade since I played it. And then I got to about a third through that mission when I remember where this mission goes, and I got really excited. It was a great mission. And then the ending of that game is just fantastic. I will say I played it on veteran difficulty, which is the hardest, which is what I did on Modern Warfare Remastered as well, and I found this significantly easier than the one before it. Like there was still some bits that were challenging, and I had to replay a few times, but there were points on the first one where it felt impossible, to the point where I borderline almost turned the difficulty down. I never had that feeling on this one, which is good. And then, so that's that. And then the only other game I'll talk about is really quickly, because I've only put a couple hours into it so far, is Paige forced me to have Animal Crossing because she wanted an island to visit. So I started playing Animal Crossing.
Forced you.
She literally like downloaded it onto my Switch while I was asleep.
You don't have to play it though.
I have to play it a bit now, because otherwise I was just going to sit there. And it's fine. I mean, I'll probably play it for a few days. Whether or not I'm still playing it in a week is a different question. Got my island up and running, kind of, just on the very basics. Mechanically, it's pretty solid. I'll update with that in a week if I'm still playing it. But I'll let Matt talk about another great game now.
No. Yeah, just so I don't play video games that often, but after all my Star Wars friends were talking about how great Fallen Order was, I cracked around Christmas, and then I played it and then put it down around January, just because I got to Dathomir and it upset me, because I had to turn the difficulty down, because this game taught me I'm not actually good at video games. And who would have thought after?
No, this game is frustratingly difficult. In that, you feel like you're doing all right for a while, and then the difficulty will spike for no reason out of nowhere, and you'll turn it down.
I got to the second temple playing on regular, whatever medium is, and I kept, as I was trying to leave the temple, I kept getting killed in the same spot. And I just had enough, and I turned down the difficulty level. That was more my wife yelling at me, "Why are you getting so mad at a video game?"
I mean, I do it with games. It's just about the enjoyment of it, right? Like the only reason I was playing those Call of Duties on the hardest difficulty is I wanted the trophies. If games don't give me trophies for playing the hardest difficulty, it's very rare I will bother.
Yeah, and so like I talked earlier, how I enjoy Spider-Man because it balances that kind of stuff. Because I do just like so. The story, for those that don't know, it picks up after Order 66, and you're playing as this Padawan who's kind of forgotten his past life, in that through the Empire showing up in his little section of life, he starts to get involved in this very Star Wars-esque quest.
Yeah, so a bit of a ragtag band of a crew kind of have to go on a little bit of a mission. Right,
and so as the story progresses, you learn each, a little bit more Jedi-esque skills. You learn force pull, force push, slow, and
double jump later, I think.
Yeah, and so you get to a lot of fun stuff, and you get to go to familiar places and new places. So like Kashyyyk was a real fun level, which I'm not looking forward to going back to now because all those damn bugs that are there. But yeah, so I got frustrated at a certain point, and I put it down, and then with everything going on, I have nothing else to do. And my wife's like, "Hey, you bought all those games, 2 Christmases ago. They're just sitting there. Why don't you start playing some of them?" So I was like, "Well, I got to finish Fallen Order." So I did. I loved the story. It was just, again, the game system.
That lasts like 20 minutes.
It went. So I started playing again 2 days ago, and I thought I was about done. Turns out I wasn't that close to being done. The stuff on Dathomir, although when you play at an easier level, that stuff goes by really quick. So like there's a character that shows up that's a really fun version. Terran Malicos. What happens with him is stuff that I love to see in Star Wars. You get the Night Sisters in there, and just the story goes to some real fun places. Like Hunter said, the last 20 minutes or so. I don't know if I want to spoil it, but a character shows up, and it essentially became a Friday the 13th movie with them playing.
You just have to run.
Yeah, I don't know this because again, I like to try to hack at things, and I got killed no less than 4 or 5 times trying to fight.
It's
you
unwinnable.
can't.
It's like no, you just have to get out of there.
Exactly, which makes sense. Which made me realize, and there might be this game. I'm so out of games, I don't know. There should be a Friday the 13th style game where that's the mechanic, is you can't beat Jason or a character like Jason. You have to run from them.
There's a lot of kind of game. Anything that's like Outlast and anything of that inspired. That was a trend of horror games for about 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
Where it was unwinnable. You just had to hide and run. I think the example that a lot of people really like is Alien Isolation. For about half of that game, that was kind of that mechanic.
Gotcha. Well, that makes sense with that. But yeah, so I got through Ilum, and you get to get your own. Now, here's the thing: when I stopped playing, I didn't have. And I came back. I had a lot more options that I don't know if the update just gave you. The exclusives.
There was a bunch of pre-order bonuses like the orange, stuff that originally were pre-order or exclusives only. After a while, they just went, "Screw it, everyone can just have them." Gotcha.
And I was like, so I get to the point where your saber gets destroyed, and so you have to go to Ilum and find your crystal, which is real cool as a nerd for the Jedi kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it was straight out of like the Clone Wars depiction of Ilum.
Right, and so you find it, and then you get a choice between the crystal you get. So that was pretty fun, but I'm like, I couldn't remember Connor saying that the light blue one was a pre-order. I think the cyan color. And I was like, why do or the orange. I can't remember. One of them was a pre-order, and it's there. And there would also in parentheses it would say premium content, and I was like, I didn't buy any of these.
Yeah,
so I don't know where this came from.
They gave them to free.
They decided. Gotcha.
About a month ago, maybe longer.
Okay, that makes sense. But yeah, so yesterday I sat down and I finished the last section of it, and just the way that it unfolds, the story is just there.
Yeah,
it's a very good Star Wars story, and then the final, like, it's almost the pilot to I would want either a show, an animated show, or a comic, because the way that this ends,
it's so
the way
frustrating.
that the main character. Yeah.
It's like, I was really into the whole game. It's like, oh no, this is a great little journey. And in that last 20 minutes, it's like, God damn it, I need a sequel.
Yep, exactly.
Like, right now.
And just, it's that ragtag group. It's kind of Star Wars in a nutshell. When I think about every version of Star Wars I like has this, which is down to the blueprints of the original movie. This group of misfits thrown together and forced to have to, not deal with one another, but rely on each other. And because I kept, Rob and Alden both kept telling me how great Marin is, and I hadn't got to the point where she was great, and I still don't think she's that great. Like, there's other characters.
I like Marin a lot. She has a lot of potential, but she joins the game quite late on.
And
I don't think she has enough time to shine.
She does some cool stuff, but to enter my top side character kind of and then when you talk about Cal's mentor, Jarl Topple, now that's a cool dude. It took me until
what's his name species, Zebs.
Yeah, it took me because you don't get much one-on-one time with him. I'm like, he looks familiar. I don't know why he looks familiar. And then once you get up and you do that, you have to do a part of the game where you interact with a memory of him. And I was like, oh, he's a Zeb. I can't remember what that species is called, but yeah. But he was pretty cool. You see Order 66 as it happens with him, and you're just like, oh, this is why the Jedi are a legend. Like, you see some of the stuff that he does, because Order 66 kind of gets short-shrifted in the movies. So if there's people
where you just kind of see him take out a few in the back, whereas this is like, no, it wasn't as easy as it looked.
No, it was a struggle. And you go from them high-fiving Cal as he's a kid, as a Padawan, to trying to kill him within the span of 5 minutes. Yeah. So it really adds to level. But no, it's a lot of fun, especially if you're a Star Wars person. Like, that said, I hate Dathomir, and I got lost through there. So just by accident, it's about 90% finished, just because I got stuck down in the lowest level and couldn't get out. And you had to fight that big bat creature, which I was a surprise. Yeah. I didn't like that. I mean, even on easy, it was still kind of difficult. But yeah, so that's my video game minute from up until I decide to play some more. But you have to go through and I got to find the rest of the lightsaber pieces so I can try to build the one that I made in Disneyland. Because I'm almost there. I'm just
missing. Have they got all the things that you need? in the game.
Basically, except for because by this point you have a double-sided lightsaber,
Sure.
you can't put the Rancor tooth. I don't know if that's a piece
Oh,
that you
for the
can
hilt.
find.
Yeah, no. It's
Yeah. So, but the emitter, I think the emitter that I have is there, but they're under different names. So like mine, when I built it, was Elemental Nature, which gives it the more natural look. The ones here, they're the Duty and Resolve. So I need to find, there's another Duty and Resolve piece that I need to go back and find. I don't know where it's at, but I'm sure I'll find it. But I just went back to finish Ilum because I'm 92% through with that.
I never 100%ed it. I just because I finished that and then moved straight on to whatever. I think I played Plague Tale next because it was on EA Access. Yeah,
but again, if once I get that piece and I can make my lightsaber in the game, then I'll be good. But until then, what real quick though, would you go with your look for your lightsaber?
Oh, I can't remember the names of them. It was like a 3-pronged emitter.
Okay, gotcha.
Kind of spiky.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It kind of fit that designer.
Which color did you end up going with?
I went with cyan. I really like the light blue.
Gotcha, cool. I ended up going with yellow, which I know with Rey and whatnot, that's become like the new cool color. But once you look into the lore of Star Wars, it's a color that, even though it is the color fear in Green Lantern, right? And it's a color that I hate for the most part, but it's such a cool for what it represents. And yeah, just the Jedi Sentinel and what that means.
And what they did with the Temple Guards with it and Rebels.
Yeah. Yep.
Love that
stuff. And what that means with Rey going forward, with how she's kind of guarding, the order, as it were. It all fits in. So,
it does, yeah. It works.
Again, Filoni and Soul and those names, I will trust. Abrams, not so much. Like, he can... I love you. I love you, dude, but just maybe not.
It's why I'm all in on the High Republic stuff that's coming up.
Yeah,
because
it's
all the names in that, I'm on board.
Well, there's and Space Barbarians, Space Vikings.
Space Vikings, yeah.
Yeah, I'm there. And of course a Jedi, a Wookiee Jedi, which I'm always down for.
What more do you want?
Yeah, so cool.
All right, okay, good. We're done.
Yeah,
exciting. Just the Patreon books now.
Yeah, I'm blasting through this.
Yeah. All right, 5, 4, 3. All right, well, we just have Patreon books to do. Technically, we'd have a wrestling section, although it's going to be very quick because I have not watched Dynamite yet, so I have...
Oh, dang you, man.
I know.
It's decent. The two main matches, I won't spoil anything, are fairly decent. And some of the character stuff that they're just nailing through these vignettes, like, I can't get enough of it. So, yeah, Kenny Omega has a great match against some... I don't want to call him a jobber, but some local guy that they brought in, and Kenny made him look like a absolute star, better than he has any right to be. And so slowly I'm starting to understand why Kenny Omega was the biggest wrestler in Japan for a minute. Like, I thought it was all hype. It's not. It's not like he's sharing the ring with another great, like him versus Okada. Of course, it's going to be great, right? Because they're both really great. But when he can show up with this guy that's basically a local dude from wherever they're filming, whether it's Georgia or Jacksonville, I'm not quite sure.
Unclear.
And he's having a great match. Yeah, they're having a great match. It's hard to, but just know that Darby Allin keeps giving you reasons to love him. That dude does not stop. Like I was talking about Superman in that boxing issue where I have to stop because if I don't, they're going to keep going. That is Darby Allin in a nutshell. So. But yeah, so
it's the first time I've not caught it because I'd watched either all of them live or later the same night, depending if I was able to watch them live or not. And it's only just these last few weeks with these empty arena shows that I've felt a bit less excited. Just kind of I'll get to it when it's convenient.
Just know Matt Hardy has a great appearance on the show, and he talks to Jericho, and I say that Matt Hardy, not Damascus. We see him shift so he can talk about his friend Chris Jericho, which was fun. And Jericho keeps bringing up why they have barriers in an empty arena, almost as if he took umbrage with JR saying that. because he brings it up every chance he can get.
Mm-hmm.
So there was another. He kept calling Kenny Omega a Pumpkinhead, and I don't know why that particular insult kept killing me, or it's just the fact that Jericho bought in 100%, and he kept putting Omega over as a great wrestler. He's like, but don't forget, I beat him in Japan. You know, he's one of the greatest wrestlers in the world that I also beat, and it's hilarious. I'm curious to what you think about the seedings, because again, I'm not trying to spoil anything of this bracket.
I feel like
interesting to say the least.
I feel like I could predict the winners just based on the stories that they're probably going to tell through the rest of the tournament. But
yeah.
All right. So Patreon books. One of the main is technically not a Patreon book, but for this better, more or less is, for lack of a better term, because you can essentially buy a book like a Patreon book on one of my streams with a certain tip amount, which is what David's done to me. He's actually done it a few times recently, so I've got a list of books to get through, so I'm doing one this week. I'll leave that for last. Carr's got one this week. Carr did have a second one to do, but the book that was picked for him isn't actually available on Comixology, so he'll have to wait and hear back from Tyler what he wants him to do about that. Whether or not Tyler wants to find him a physical copy and send it by pigeon. So my first one here is my regular Patreon book from Tyler as well. Actually, this is American Vampire issue 6. Obviously Snyder and Albuquerque. Interesting stuff. Obviously, American Vampire has a very sort of anthology style structure where each arc kind of leaps forward into a new time period. It focuses on different characters, but there's obviously connections to the previous stories. And this one, I'd read all of this stuff before, but it'd been long enough that I always remembered it starting with Pearl in the old Hollywood of the 20s. But I if you'd asked me, okay, what's arc number 2 beforehand, I'd be like, I can't remember. I have no idea. It's in 30s in Las Vegas, and we have a cop who's named Cash. There's a little
Cash McCougan.
Yeah, there's a little preview at the start of sort of later on, set before after the story, where someone's got a baby in a bag, and when the waitress who kind of just wants to see the baby looks into it, freaks out by what she sees. So it's a kind of a tease for some monstrous child. But we cut to a hotel, and this big businessman's with a prostitute. And then later that night, some big bat vampire creature comes in and seemingly kills him. And we're introduced to Cash, who's got a pregnant wife. My only problem, I'm kind of skipping ahead a little bit here, but I will say, if I have any problems with the art, is that later on Cash calls his wife on the phone, and I actually thought it was the prostitute at first because her haircut was the exact same. And I was like, why have you given them the same hair? I mean, it became clear after a minute because she's got a pregnant bump and so on, that it's not the same person, but it felt like a weird choice to give them the exact same hair. So Cash is supposed to have a night off. We learn that he's a cop. He breaks up these two drunks who end up trying to rob this store that he's in, and reveals that he's got a badge. So we get a sense of who he is. We find out that his dad was killed recently on the job. He was also a cop. And the big reveal at the end of the issue is that it's because, throughout we get the murder scene at this hotel. He comes by with the two feds that he meets. One of whom's very important. I'll mention who that is in a minute. But they go and it's like, okay, so he was with a woman. Where was she from? And when they mention the place the woman was from, the mood kind of changes, and it's like, oh shit. And that's when he calls his wife, and she's like, maybe you shouldn't go there. You've already questioned him about your dad's murder. Like this shouldn't work. And the big reveal is that the guy who runs this brothel or whatever it is exactly, who's going by a different name, is actually Skinner Sweet. Well, this is kind of the big reveal at the end of the issue. So it's kind of like oh hello, okay, Skinner's really changed up his tactics. There's a lot of world building in this though that I really like. Is that the city's expanding very quickly because they're building the dam nearby, and it's brought a lot of workers, and because of that they're all spending lots of money in the city, and the police force is struggling because they've not expanded, even though the population's like doubled, tripled, whatever, and they're really struggling. So that's why he's been wanting feds, and these two feds show up. So one dude who's called Jack Straw, and then of course the other one, the younger woman, is Felicia Book, who of course connects to the backstory arc in the first trade or arc or whatever you would call it. Her being the daughter of Book and the backstory. So really cool to get that. We get that she can take care of herself. Everyone kind of assumes she's not really useful at first. Not her partner so much, but Cash and so on. And it's later she beats the shit out of one of the guards who won't let them into the club. That we kind of see that she can take care of herself, and it's good stuff. So no, I mean obviously the art's still great. I think it does a good job of building up a real tone for this. The first arc very quickly set up that okay, we're in the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, and these young women try to make it in the business and getting jobs as extras, as backing dancers, whatever. I think this arc does a similar equal great job of like setting up the mood, the expanding city, the dawn of Vegas. In fact, one of the plot points that Cash brings up is that him and his wife are kind of annoyed and are being kept up at night because the hotel across from where they live just put in at the time a relatively new thing, which was a neon sign, and they've got this big glowing neon sign in their bedroom window, which of course you think of Vegas now, all you think about is neon signs.
It's so Snyder gets a lot kind of right, but it's pop history. So like, of course he didn't do full, like he's not writing a book report on the history of Vegas.
Yeah, it's not a history comic.
Yeah, but there is a city called Boulder City that sprang up because of it was a town site for people that were building the dam. And for the longest time, because of the reputation of gambling halls, there was no gambling in that city whatsoever. It was banned, so they would have to come into the city, which it's you're looking back at the 30s. It's a very long drive through the desert to get to where the ship is, or downtown. But no, I love this story. This is one of my favorite stories. Yeah.
I think because at first all you have connection wise, all in the fact that the big bat is connected to vampires. You have Felicia Book, and then it's just at the very end it gives you the big hook, the big connection to the previous story. But I kind of like because we're not focused on the exact same characters for the most part. It makes the world feel bigger, and I know we come back to Pearl eventually. Like I know that she's not gone for good, and but what I like about this is it is almost kind of like Resident Evil in a way that Resident Evil 2 had different main characters, and then 3 brought back one of the original characters, and then Code Veronica mixed one of the characters from 2 with one of the characters from 1, and then 4 brought back Leon from 2. Like it kind of did this thing where it made the world feel bigger just by introducing other characters set in the same story, in the same universe. So in a weird way, this kind of storytelling is kind of a shared universe before shared universes were really a big thing. But that's how they just build their own story within their one title. And yeah, so I really like that stuff. Obviously the art's really good. Skinner Sweet's in this really silly over the top white suit at the end. He's got a hat on. But it's obviously him. The art's very good at really making all that stuff distinct. Literally my only complaint in the art is that why does Cash's wife look so much like the prostitute from the start? Because it just was confusing for a second. But other than that, really good piece of world building. So that's American Vampire issue 6. Connor has Red Hood Outlaw. I'll give that a solid 8.5 for the record. Connor has Red Hood Outlaw number 43.
Yeah, Lobdell writing and Christopher Williams on the art. Which I'll get out of the way first. The art's a bit rough. One of the few things this series has typically had going for it is high quality art. And I think even you guys, if just at a glance, would agree that it's had some good artists on the book, as a rule. Sure, yeah. There was a lot of Dexter Soy back in the early days, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was. Pretty much every other arc for a while was Dexter Soy. And Pete Woods recently, since the titling of Outlaw, I'd say he's been the principal artist. Which, again, looks pretty good, so can't complain on that department, which is why this sticks out a bit more. A lot of just like really smooth, odd-looking faces without the definition and depth to them, and like just some odd light placement on them to try and give it some depth and like direction, but without some of the other features. Just doesn't really work. As for the issue itself, it's kind of all over the place. Like it has an intro, which is Susie Sue in the Iceberg Lounge, who was one of the big sisters they left in charge of it, and it opens with her dead narrating it, with like 10 swords sticking out of her, going, "Well, I was just assassinated," but she gets back up. Death doesn't really do anything for her anymore. I'm not entirely sure why, reasons. But she's like, "Oh well." One of her partners comes in. It's like, "Do we need to tell Jason about this?" And she's like, no point. He'll know. And she's like, "Well, we could give him a warning." She's like, "Well, no, they already got whatever they were here for." She points at an empty safe, and he's like, "He'll find out soon enough." It's not like we have his phone number, so yeah, sure. And then it cuts to a scene that I should enjoy, in theory, in the action side of it. I think with a better artist, I really would. Because it's a James Bond fight on top of a moving train, essentially, with the Outlaws fighting these two strongish sisters. I don't know. They seem to be handling themselves okay. It's a bit unclear, but I mean, it's a sequence that is mostly just, hey, here's the team back in action, kind of all together now because it's been a while. And I think with a good artist, could have been a really fun sequence. As it is, it's just kind of a bit bland. It doesn't have any good pacing or charisma to it, and like I said, some of the stuff just looks a bit off. So that kind of ruins that a little bit. Anyway, they're there. The Outlaws are there to get into the train to try and figure out what they're here to steal. And there's some like artifact, and that's actually tied to the old cast, which are if you recall, which I'm sure you don't, from X amount of issues ago. These were the people who brought Jason back to life now, and he had that magic sword that could fight them. If this is ringing any bells whatsoever.
I remember someone with a big metal jaw. That's like all I remember from those 2 issues that I read.
It was before those issues that you read, Pete.
Oh.
It was from the arc before that, I think.
No, because do you think I recall something from this book that one of the issues that I didn't read just from what you told us?
I barely recall it, so I don't blame you. So it's fine. Just maybe the listeners remember. Who knows? I mean, probably might do a better job than me. But anyway, these creatures they've basically like possessed these bodies, and then they start like mutating out of it. They kind of look like a cross between Parasite and Doomed. Is kind of how I would describe the look of them. They're a fine design. We have a bit of a tussle with them. Trying to see, what's going on. Some jokes. One of them explodes, and Artemis like, "I'll buy the 7 beards," and Bizarro's like, "Just mine, but still, this is gross." But yeah, the Untitled. That's what they're actually called. They incubate in the human bodies, and Artemis is like, "Shouldn't you kind of like recognize them immediately? You did a lot of stuff with the old cast, and you're the only living person who can wield the all blades, if you recall that. Why didn't you recognize them immediately?" He's like, "I don't know," and does this big dramatic close up on his eyes. And again, I wish the art was better, because the panel in theory is a solid, in terms of the pacing of that moment, should work. But yeah, it's just not really great. But anyway, they've got an anonymous source in there, and it's General Glory, who's representing the US government there, because they're in like Germany on this train. And he's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm in charge from this point on." And Jason's like, "Oh, well, like hell you are." And Bizarro's immediately like, "Roger that." He's like, "Well, what's going on?" He's like, "Well, it said he's in charge." It's like, so? But yeah, no, this guy he's an old guy. He's been like doing it for like 75 years, but he has got powers, so he's still going. But yeah, they're talking about this. They were trying to steal this obelisk and bring it to Karak, and do all the stuff that they were doing. And that's basically the end of the issue for their plot. And then we have 2 actual outro scenes, like tags at the end, which is weird because they couldn't just end it with one. The first one is at Margun's home, because she's kind of villainous now. And she's with what seems to be like a Talon, like a Court of Owls mask, from what I remember. Like one of the, not the Talon actually, maybe it's one of the actual owls kind of who sit around. But yeah, she's there, and there's a knock on the door. She's getting I think she's taking applications for a teacher at her thing, but with like ex-villains and stuff. There's a knock, who is one last applicant, and it's Mala and the Brain. So I like those. Haven't seen them in a while.
Yeah, I remember them showing up on a cover and then having to temper my excitement because it's still Flubdell writing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're on this cover. I'll have to double check, but I mean, I like them showing up in general. So sure, I'll give it points to that. And then there's another outro, which is Jason's kind of girlfriend that he was with before, who I think he left the sword with her. She's just in her apartment, and the dog's going wild at the door. She goes there, and there's nothing there except the sword. I'm assuming this is one of the old blades or something. But then there's this final page of some mysterious woman who's holding the sword, like it materializes in her hand, like this light. She's like, this body ought to work out fine wherever the hell you are, Jason. And I'm like, fine, whatever. That all cast stuff was some of the worst stuff that the book did in recent memory. So revisiting that doesn't give me much hope for going forward. So that's not going to be fun. I'm really frustrated with the pacing of this Iceberg Lounge stuff that's been, I think this is 2 or 3 issues now that this has teased this stuff with literally like a page or 2 pages at the start or the end of the issue, and it's just feeling like it's just stagnating. And then here having 2 separate outro teases, pick one. Just pick one. You can't have 2 at the end. You can't finish your main story and then have 2 different 2 or 3 page sequences teasing the next issue. That's just bad storytelling. I'm sorry. So for that reason, I'm giving it a 3.
All right. Well, that'll take me on to my second of the week. I did 2 this week because I didn't have time last week, so I'm making up for it. So brace yourselves, buckle in, because I'm about to talk about Lobo issue 1 by Cullen Bunn from 2014. This is New 52.
If it makes you feel any better, I definitely read this at the time. I gave it a try. I don't remember it, but I definitely tried it.
You tried it.
This is emo Lobo.
This is emo Lobo, and the opening few pages of this book are him killing actual Lobo, who in the continuity of this book, or at least he thinks at the start. I mean, I don't know if it was changed later or how it was retconned, but young, sexy emo Lobo, CW Lobo, we'll call him. He's got actual Lobo's head and accuses him of stealing his name, and that he's the real Lobo from Saznia.
I remember this.
Yeah. So right away, if you're a fan of Lobo, right?
That pisses you off.
And I'm not really, right? I don't really give that much of a shit about Lobo. But if I was a fan of Lobo, the opening like 3 or 4 pages of this book this would be like the Halloween remake from Rob Zombie. Yep. This would be parts of Batman v Superman. This would be those things that really shit on the thing I like.
The part of that though, like if it was the Halloween, it'd be like, oh no, Michael Myers was swapped at birth, and this is actually the real evil baby. This is why Michael was. It was like, no, this is Lobo. You gave us fake Lobo.
I'm not saying the plot beat matches the. I'm saying the way it insults the memory of the thing.
Yeah, like.
And that's what's quite frustrating about a lot of things in the New 52. I think is there's a way to do this without feeling like you're insulting them.
Oh yeah,
it's fine that you want to try a different sort of Lobo. Fine, why not?
That's the thing. This entire issue feels. Like if I might hand this to someone I've said, what's wrong with the New 52? I might hand them this issue and say, hey, read that. That's what's wrong with the New 52. Yeah. Everything you feel when reading this. Everything about it, they're pushing... I mean, I don't even want a Lobo book in general. I'm fine with them showing up and things, right? No problem with that, but... they're pushing not only a Lobo book, but they're pushing... Oh, no, here's the new, young, sexy, Lobo for a start, right? They've taken Lobo and turned him into a hot character. Like, Lobo's not meant to be a hot character. He's kind of disgusting. It's kind of his thing.
Yeah, that's the point of him.
Yeah. But it's trying to be edgy, it's trying to be hip and cool, and if I was to sum up the New 52 and why it doesn't work is because that's how I would describe it. It's trying to be hip and cool and mold everything to feel kind of closer to that.
Honestly, the biggest problem as well is it was trying to be those things without understanding how.
Yeah. So he kills Lobo. He explains that his gun is suitable for doing so. just a line of exposition.
As far as I know, with the Zarnian, you can't kill them because they can regenerate from a drop of blood. So,
yes.
Yeah, don't think about it too much, Matt.
Yes.
But I did.
fried with enough weaponized gigakelvins. Is that a real thing? It sounds made up to me.
Kelvin is a measure of temperature, right?
Yeah. So
So
maybe
it's really
thing.
hot. Gigakelvins
Yeah.
would be extremely hot, I assume.
But that's just all he says, and enough that even a Sarnian can't even get back from it. But anyway, we get a flashback, kind of slash nightmare, where the art changes, and it's him on, Sarsnia, like painting the princess, and he's the bodyguard of the emperor, and they're having an affair.
Oh God, why is this all coming back to me?
And
Stop.
And like they'll be in trouble if anyone finds out. But it's actually a nightmare because it turns out like all horrific, and she becomes like evil, and like he wakes up. Although before that, they are like it was really going for this kind of romantic, like almost like for some reason I can almost like see the way he's dressed, the way she's dressed. It feels like they're in Mexico or something like that, kind of having a romantic dance like on the beach or something like that. But she turns all demonic. He wakes up from his nightmare. He says that every month he actually gets a part of his brain burned off because it stops him from dreaming. It grows back every time, but for a little while he gets to sleep without dreaming. But the actual plot of the book is that this person shows up to get him out of the jail that he's currently in, and offers him a job as a hitman to kill these 8 other hitmen who have been hired to kill someone who we find out in a page or two is on Earth. And he's been hired to kill all the hitmen so that this person, who doesn't even know they've been targeted, will survive. I'll tell you right now, this issue does not reveal who the target is, because he asked who the target is, and I assumed the reveal at the end of the issue was going to be, oh, this is who it is on there, someone we know, some big character from DC or whatever. It doesn't actually tell you. It ends with him like seeing on a tablet that it looks like it's in Florida, whoever the target is, but we don't get to actually find out in this issue. And surprise, surprise, I don't care enough to read issue 2 to find out. But
You could Google it.
I don't think I care enough to Google it.
Matt does.
I think
No.
I'm only mentioning it. I'm only caring enough to mention it because it's frustrating in the context of an issue. Like that, it's not like it feels like it's teasing. It's setting up for this reveal for the end, and then it doesn't do it.
Is the ending reveal one of the assassins that he's got to take out instead?
No, he's already beaten a bunch of them. If anything, he's beaten like at least half of them when he gets to Earth. He goes on his like fancy circle bike thing. He tracks them down, and he just like it's nothing. He doesn't even struggle. He just goes in and kills them like they're
What's the
red
bike
shirts.
that he's got in this one? Because it's not like his traditional big, Harley Davidson.
No, he's got this like
It's-
it's a science fiction. It's got like a ring that he's riding inside of.
Oh god.
It reminds me, from memory, more like what Orion goes around on.
Yeah. Wait. Well, not Orion. Orion has the harness. But I know what you're talking about. It's like a new god.
Yeah, well,
Kind of
Orion's
thing,
used them in
yeah.
the past. I'm sure I've seen Orion on one. But the new god kind of almost scooter-esque thing that they use.
Yeah, but they always have a ring around them, like a vertical ring.
No, but they stand on a ring, don't they?
Because it's like this
Sometimes.
rings is actually the big wheel that it rides on. It's this big that goes over the top of him. Anyway, but he finds them all sort of hanging out at a place. He kills one of them with these like sickle things on a chain. I'm sure that's got a name, but
Oh, okay. So this is for Matt. The bike that he's riding,
Uh-huh.
it's that thing that Grievous rides in
Yeah.
it's this, yeah.
That's what I pictured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh, shut up about goddamn Star Wars. I don't
No,
care.
but that's what it is. I'm looking at it right now. It's
Okay.
that.
The only thing we found out about his character, other than that he's super edgy, is that he doesn't kill dogs, because these like attack dogs are sent after him, and he refuses to kill them. So he feeds them the dead body parts of the others that he's already killed. And then the last one he kills isn't actually traditionally an assassin; he's more of a demolition expert. So that makes him question what's going on here, who they after. And the book just ends with him riding off because he's looked at a tablet. It looks like it's pointing towards Florida or somewhere near Florida, and it's just like, yep. It's the last line of dialogue says, "Hell, whoever's funding this little killing spree should have hired me. I would have almost done the job for free." So he doesn't like whoever it is, but he doesn't actually tell us who it is. So I like. Cullen Bunn's a really boring writer for me. Like I don't really like anything I've read from Cullen Bunn. I think if you take Cullen Bunn and you add him with this edgy new take from the New 52 on a character, and you get like such a like, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10, just like Cord did Red Hood, but I think this is this weird case if you're taking a writer who's like a solid 5 out of 10 almost consistently, and then but you give him this concept that is inherently just unappealing. I think it's unappealing to me just on the principle of what it is. I think as to a Lobo fan, it's like insulting.
Yeah.
Oh man! Whoa! Jeez.
Lobo was a character that I had up there with like Deadpool, to where there's a certain type of person that gravitates towards them, and I get it. It's not my kind of character, and I'm someone that loves Guy Gardner. All right, so like I get it.
Here's the thing though. I don't think this like this Lobo isn't even trying to appeal to Lobo fans. He feels so different.
That's my point that I was getting to. Is this was like, well, you know what everybody, the people that love Lobo, like about Lobo? We're going to get all rid of that. And we're going to try to make everybody like Lobo. And it's like, well, no. Lobo works on the fringes, you know? Like, yeah, I remember this going by and I'm like, yeah, not touching that. I don't care about, you know. With Cullen Bunn, I've heard like Six Gun is really enjoyable. And some of his other things, like his independent.
I mean, let's be honest. Like a solo Lobo series of regular Lobo isn't really appealing to me, right? Maybe you know, if Tom Taylor's name was on it, sure, maybe. But like,
even then, though, like I don't know. But they did poke fun at this. I was just reading in Rebirth because he actually does show up in Howlin' Pals, and he's in one of Brainiac's bottles, and Guy Gardner almost lets it out, and Hal goes, no. That's better to be left on the shelf. I
knew it was going to be a young, edgy, emo version of Lobo, but I did not expect it to open with literally him killing the real Lobo and saying, "No, that's a pretender. I'm the real one." I'm like, wait, whoa, this is how you open like. How about you make people like your new version before you have them like shit all over the old one? Just the thought. This is like asking people to be pissed off and be antagonistic towards your thing, your property, your premise. So like. I mean, it's not the worst written book of all time. It's just a really unappealing character and a really unappealing attitude. The art's not particularly good. It's not the worst art of all time either. It's just really house style, kind of generic middle of New 52 fare. So, no. And David seems to like making me read things from the New 52, so I feel like there's more of that coming your way. Look forward to some other picks. But
what other shit can he scrape from the bottom of the barrel for you?
I can tell you that up next is, where's my list here? Telos #1 from Convergence.
Oh, yuck.
So, yeah, that's what I've got to look forward to.
I can tell you, I did not read that one. I read Telos in his debut stuff in the Green Lantern stuff when that was where he started, right, Matt?
Telos was that was.
Was it right after Johns' run?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Well, I have no idea about Telos at all, so I wonder if I'll be able to follow it, but we'll see.
From what I remember, he was trapped in the Source Wall or beyond the Source Wall, something to do with the Source Wall.
Under the Source Wall, he's on top of the Source Wall.
Oh no, he was either trapped inside of it or trapped behind the Source Wall, and he came through in Green Lantern.
He's trying to make the inhabitants of beyond the Source Wall pay for the Source Wall.
From what I remember, his motivation was in his universe.
No one. That was a good joke. Okay, whatever.
The energy that the Lanterns use, the various light spectrums, are actually a finite resource, and in his universe they use them up. And he was basically Poison Ivy, essentially for his universe, and was trying to make them stop by any means necessary, using up their resources.
That was a different.
Does that not tell us?
No, this is saying that this is a Brainiac. It came out of Future's End, and it's based off of.
Was that not Telos in that?
No, that was.
So don't care.
I know who you're talking about. That was from Lights Out or post Lights Out.
Oh.
Yeah.
Look, this is like prison. I just have to read the book, do my time, and read it, talk about it, and it's over, and I can forget it from my brain.
No, now I gotta know who Connor's talking about because I know.
Yeah, I want to know who I'm talking about.
He was like a new god, but he wasn't.
Is his design similar or something?
Yeah.
Is that why I'm thinking of it?
I'm loading the Green Lantern reading order because it'll be there.
I'm just looking up Lights Out and figuring it'll tell me his name, because you know the name of the story.
Well, I think Lights Out was before, but it led to that.
That's very frustrating because I'm sure that he looks
It was
similar.
in it was in Godhead. Is when he showed up.
Is his name just Godhead?
I think so.
That's disappointing.
Nope, that's not it. This might have to go till next week because
All right, we'll come back with answers.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Right, we're done. That's Quarantine in the Multiverse. Episode 4. It turns out of 5. This was a 5-episode miniseries. Just like a comic book. You get 5-episode mini, and then we're back to the main story, the main show. You know what I mean? So that is it. So you can, of course, let us know what you thought of the books. Why did I say that? We didn't read it.
Connor, it was Relic.
I want autopilot.
It is Lights Out.
Design wise, is it really similar?
Kind of.
Can I outro the show? Can I just
go ahead, outro it. I just have to let them know.
Okay, so you can like and subscribe. You can let us know what you thought of everything we talked about in the show. We got one more week of quarantine, then we're back to some books, not a lot. So we'll still have questions and quizzes probably with the books, but all the off-topic stuff will take a back seat because we'll be back to comics from the multiverse. And then, so obviously go to patreon.com/MailFlashTV if you want to support the show and the channel and everything we do here, and keep all the content coming, comics from Multiverse, but also previous in the Multiverse, which did skip this week, but we'll be back early next week, so look forward to that. You can, of course, get some bonuses on it. You get all the Multiverse episodes early at the $5 tier by 1 day. You get to vote in a slot in previously, which will happen more often now that the show's usually weekly. So
a vote going on right now?
There is, and it's ending at the end of the month, so this goes up, on the Sunday for everyone. Although patrons get it on the Saturday night, so I mean, you guys have, given you the guys who can actually vote, it makes sense that you have got a little bit extra time, but you've got until the end of the month to make that vote and get your vote in. So you can do all that stuff. Of course, you can rate the podcast on Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star review, and then all that jazz. It does help us out. It makes more people find us because they'll promote it a little bit more. They'll have it higher in the rankings, that kind of thing. Same reason why we actually like stuff on YouTube, because it does help YouTube spread things out a little bit. So please do. But that is us. I will just say, is there anything else to promote that I would like to? It's not, other stuff. I don't know, Westworld's nearly done. Me and Cara have been reviewing that. We've got 2 episodes left. We finished Better Call Saul season 5 this week, and
so good, Matt. You're going to enjoy the hell out of it.
Yeah, I will.
Season 5 is really good. So there's that, and there's other stuff, the usual stuff going on. Sci-fi podcast, the Atomic Cinema Experiment. We've been having a 70s month, so there's been 2 episodes a week doing mostly obscure 70s movies, but we've got a couple of biggies to sort of bookend it. I'll just say this. The day this goes up also happens to be Alien Day. 26th of April, so maybe the same day this goes public is the same day that another episode of the Ace will go public that might be relevant to that date. Just a thought.
I hope you're not doing Prometheus.
Not yet.
Or Covenant.
We already did Prometheus, right? And we did the other Alien movies at some point. So there is a review of that. And Pete doesn't want to suffer through it again anytime soon, basically.
I mean, it will happen. I mean, the idea is to just do, one per year on Alien Day.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He doesn't want to suffer through it anytime soon.
Yes. The exciting part, though, is that Tara's not seen Covenant, so when we get to the end of all this, that's the main event. It's like, hey, Covenant for the first time.
If I could reach out to her through the Force, I will tell her don't do it. No one should have to go through that.
I can't wait. Because you see, Matt, you can blow and I'll do the fingering.
Not doing it.
All right, that is Recording the Multiverse. Thank you very much for joining us. We love you loads. We'll see you next time. Keep reading comics, watching movies, playing video games, whatever you're doing while you're in quarantine, because all of it's valid. I mean, catch up and stuff. Your backlogs were built for this time. Your backlog of everything, those piles of books you've not read that you've been accumulating for years, the video games you've got on Steam because you've been buying stuff in sales for the past 10 years, This is what it was all been leading to, is the backlog. Nature found a way to give you time, so use it. So thank you once again. We'll see you next time. And never get sick in the Speed Force.